Chapter 1365. Su Xiaobin and Wang Lixia had been together for 3 years. Su Xiaobin was still clear about each other's personalities. The incredible scene that happened in front of him made Su Xiaobin somewhat puzzled. After the impulse, Su Xiaobin's mind immediately calmed down. Being able to endure in an office for many years without resigning to do other things also showed that Su Xiaobin was not a stupid person. He knew that his identity could not be recognized by the Lu family's children, but at the same time, he also knew that as long as he continued to stay in the Jiangyan group, he would always find an opportunity. Now, the opportunity had finally arrived. This also explained Su Xiaobin's vision. After so many years of waiting, his girlfriend actually cheated on him when he was about to do whatever he wanted. Su Xiaobin couldn't figure it out. What the hell is going on? Since he couldn't figure it out, then there must be something wrong. Although Wang Lixia was usually a little dissatisfied with Su Xiaobin's income and social status, she always compared her college roommate's boyfriend with Su Xiaobin. But even so, there was no emotional crisis between the two. Now, Su Xiaobin was about to succeed and sit on the throne of the Jiangyan Group's Songjiang branch, but Wang Lixia cheated on him. This was simply incredible. When he was poor, his girlfriend did not leave him, but when he was successful, his girlfriend cheated on him? If it was anyone else, they would also feel that this matter was unusual. Moreover, if the object of the cheater was a promising man, Su Xiaobin could understand, but it seemed that the object of the cheater was Lu Jifei. Although Lu Jifei's surname was Lu, his actual status was not much higher than Su Xiaobin. Both of them were collateral descendants in the Lu family. Wang Lixia was also very clear about this. Su Xiaobin didn't agree that Lu Jifei was handsome. His head was like a football. With this kind of appearance, unless Wang Lixia's aesthetic point of view was wrong, it was impossible to like him. After analyzing the reasons and pros and cons in an instant, Su Xiaobin's heart calmed down. This matter revealed a trace of abnormality. He gritted his teeth and decided to wait and see. Watching his girlfriend being intimate with another man was a kind of torture for anyone, but Su Xiaobin couldn't help it. He had to bear with it at this moment to figure out the truth of the matter. A little impatience spoils great plans. After meeting Jing Xiaolu today, Su Xiaobin felt that this Lu Jifei had a problem. This contract is signed like this. Does this Lu Jifei want to frame me? Cooperation was carried out in the spirit of mutual benefit between both parties, but the contract signed with Jing Xiaolu became a contract that harmed others to benefit oneself. Under such a contract, could the cooperation between both parties be carried out happily? With Lu Jifei's actions, Su Xiaobin no longer trusted Lu Jifei in his heart. Now that Lu Jifei was intimate with his girlfriend, this matter was even stranger. Su Xiaobin clenched his fist. He decided to find out the truth. I can't fall into Lu Jifei's trap without knowing anything. Could it be that Wang Lixia was in cahoots with Lu Jifei from the beginning? At present, this was the only explanation. Seeing Wang Lixia's unusual cooperation with Lu Jifei, Su Xiaobin was even more distressed. Fortunately, Lu Jifei was already in the final sprint stage. Soon, the two people ended the battle and fell on the bed, gasping for breath. Lu Jifei only had time at this time. He took his mobile phone and looked at it. When he saw that the caller was Su Xiaobin, he frowned suddenly. This Su Xiaobin won't come back, right? Thinking of this, Lu Jifei wanted to get away as soon as possible. He was trying to figure out how to tell Wang Lixia that he would leave for a while. However, before he could say anything, he saw Wang Lixia staring at him with an inexplicable look of disbelief and fear. Wang Lixia had just gone through intense exercise. She sweated a lot, and her mind became a lot clearer. The effect of the incense seemed very weak. At this moment, when she saw Su Xiaobin take the mobile phone, she wondered. Su Xiaobin doesn't use this mobile phone, right? Why did he change his mobile phone after going out? When she glanced at the name of the person who missed the call on the mobile phone screen, she was even more shocked. Why is this caller also called Su Xiaobin? Could it be that Su Xiaobin called himself? How is this possible? Just as she was about to ask, the image of Su Xiaobin in front of her became blurred. In the end, it actually turned into Lu Jifei. Yes, it was Lu Jifei. Because the incense was about to lose its effect, coupled with the difference of the mobile phone and the strange caller ID, Wang Lixia instantly woke up, so that Su Xiaobin, in front of her, was restored to Lu Jifei. Lu Jifei's heart skipped a beat. What is this look? However, he said carefully with a smile on his face, Lixia, what's wrong with you? Ah! Wang Lixia screamed sharply, shattering Lu Jifei's eardrums. Lu Jifei! Why are you in my bed? Seeing Wang Lixia's shocked and frightened expression, Lu Jifei knew that he was exposed. Originally, he wanted to leave before Wang Lixia woke up, so that Wang Lixia couldn't find any evidence. Even if she confronted Su Xiaobin afterward, it was nothing. Even if Su Xiaobin denied it, Wang Lixia would only think that she was confused and had a dream. There would be no other doubts. However, even if there were doubts afterward, Lu Jifei was not afraid. Anyway, Wang Lixia took the initiative at that time. He believed that she would be embarrassed to confront him, so she could only suffer in silence. But now, Wang Lixia actually recognized him. Things had become a bit complicated. Being identified on the spot, I'm afraid it's difficult to explain. However, Lu Jifei was a shameless person in the end. He just felt guilty, and he calmed down. So what if it's me? You are shameless. I want to sue you. I want to call the police. Su Xiaobin won't let you go. Wang Lixia rushed to Lu Jifei without any warning. It seemed that she wanted to fight him desperately. Get lost, you stinky woman. What are you yelling for? Lu Jifei was tall and sturdy. How could Wang Lixia be his opponent? He gave Wang Lixia a casual push and she almost fell over. Wang Lixia also knew that she couldn't beat Lu Jifei. The anger just now turned into infinite grievance in an instant. She bowed her head and sobbed. What are you crying for? Let me tell you. You just did it willingly. Look at yourself just now. Who can prove that you were forced? Lu Jifei sneered. I tell you, if you know what's good for you, you should obediently keep this matter to yourself. Otherwise, let's see who will believe it. At that time, you will still be the unlucky one. Think about it. If Su Xiaobin wants to know that you are so bad, he will definitely break up with you. No. Impossible. I didn't do it willingly. Wang Lixia was stunned and quickly shook her head to deny it, but her confidence was somewhat lacking. Previously, she was indeed willing, but the person she saw was not Lu Jifei, but her boyfriend, Su Xiaobin. The dialogue between Wang Lixia and Lu Jifei made Su Xiaobin, who was at the door, a little dumbfounded. What the hell is going on? Just now, Wang Lixia was so cooperative with Lu Jifei. Why did she turn around and cry, saying that she didn't do it willingly? Lu Jifei seemed to know that the matter was exposed, so he kept threatening and intimidating. Is there really something hidden in this matter? Originally, when he heard that Wang Lixia was not willing, Su Xiaobin wanted to rush in and beat up Lu Jifei, but at this moment, he hesitated again. Although he couldn't wait to kill Lu Jifei now, Su Xiaobin knew that if he rushed in at this time, he would never know the truth. He had to figure out the reason. Since Wang Lixia was not willing, why did she cooperate with Lu Jifei after that? Chapter 1366. Don't be noisy. You said it was not voluntary? Who would believe that? Lu Jifei snorted coldly. If you don't want to lose face, bury this matter in your heart. I'm telling you, it won't do you any good to talk about it. When Su Xiaobin breaks up with you, you will still suffer. Wang Lixia was shocked and angry, but she also knew that Lu Jifei was telling the truth. If this matter was publicized, it was indeed not good for her. She did do it voluntarily. If she was forced, she believed that Su Xiaobin could forgive her, but in the current situation, would Su Xiaobin believe that she was not voluntary? Seeing Wang Lixia's silence, Lu Jifei knew that his intimidation had worked, and he was relieved. As long as Wang Lixia did not cry, things would be much easier. Lu Jifei didn't know why, but when he saw Wang Lixia stop, she seemed to have acquiesced to this result, and his heart began to move again. Many people were like this. They didn't know how to be satisfied. After getting something, they wanted more. Lu Jifei seemed to be such a person. This could be seen from his thoughts at the moment. Lu Jifei was now not thinking about the consequences of Wang Lixia's crying, but how to continue to maintain this relationship with Wang Lixia. Thinking of Wang Lixia's charming body, Lu Jifei's heart rippled. He couldn't stop. Lixia, things are already like this. In the future, if you are still so obedient, I promise that you will eat well. Lu Jifei said, you can rest assured that I won't let Su Xiaobin notice our relationship. Wang Lixia's face changed, but she didn't expect Lu Jifei to be insatiable. He actually proposed such a condition. Isn't this asking me to be Lu Jifei's long-term lover? How could Wang Lixia agree? She was not such a shameless person. She already felt sorry for what happened before. She had decided that regardless of whether Su Xiaobin forgave her or not, she would confess to Su Xiaobin. How could she continue to be Lu Jifei's lover? Isn't this a joke? However, at this time, her heart moved, and she suddenly thought of an idea. Perhaps, if she pretended to agree to Lu Jifei's request first, she might be able to find out the truth from Lu Jifei's mouth. Thinking of this, Wang Lixia gritted her teeth and made up her mind. Perhaps, this was her last chance to fight back. She had to seize it. She took a deep breath and said to Lu Jifei, let me think about it. If she agreed at once, Lu Jifei might not believe it and suspect whether she had any motives or impure intentions. However, Wang Lixia said that she would consider it, so he had no doubt. Considering it meant that Wang Lixia was tempted. However, she was struggling in her heart. Was it worth it? Okay. Think about it. Lu Jifei was very happy in his heart. Think about it. If you become my lover, how can I treat you badly? Wang Lixia seemed to have really sunk into deep thought, as if she was considering the gains and losses of this matter. In fact, Wang Lixia's heart was already filled with anger, but she deliberately concealed it and made herself look expressionless. Lu Jifei did not urge her and quietly waited for Wang Lixia's answer. After a long time, Wang Lixia finally spoke. What benefits can I get from being your lover? Su Xiaobin only felt that all the strength in his body was drained in an instant. He looked at Wang Lixia in front of him in disbelief. Is this still my girlfriend, Wang Lixia? She actually asked such a shameless question. Could it be that she is willing to degrade herself to such a point? Su Xiaobin tried hard to control his emotions. Subconsciously, he kept reminding himself that Wang Lixia was not that kind of person and would not betray him. However, the facts happened in front of him, so he had to believe that this was true. In desperation, just as he was about to break in, Lu Jifei spoke, which once again suppressed Su Xiaobin's violent emotions. Benefits? Of course, there are many. Lu Jifei smiled. What do you want to buy? I can satisfy you. Of course, when I have a foothold in the Lu family, I will arrange for you to be transferred to a position in the Jiangyan group. At the very least, you will be a middle-level leader. Really? Wang Lixia resisted the anger in her heart and pretended to be very surprised as she looked at Lu Jifei. You won't lie to me, right? Of course not. I, Lu Jifei, am a man of my word. How can I lie to you? Lu Jifei said quickly, you can rest assured that I will do what I say. Okay, then I promise you. Wang Lixia took a deep breath as if she had made a big decision. She nodded and said, Great. Lu Jifei was pleasantly surprised. He took Wang Lixia's body and held her in his arms. Wang Lixia suddenly felt disgusted, but her face remained calm as she pushed Lu Jifei away. Wait, I still have a few requests to tell you. You can only do it after you promise me. You say it, you say it. Lu Jifei's heart was about to burst with joy. At this moment, the beauty had a request, so he naturally agreed. What requests do you have? As long as I can do it, I will satisfy you. First, this matter must not be known by Su Xiaobin. You have to help me keep this secret. Can you do it? Asked Wang Lixia. Lu Jifei was stunned. He didn't expect this request. Even if Wang Lixia didn't mention it, he would keep the secret. His brain wasn't flooded. How could he say this in front of Su Xiaobin? So, he said, of course, this is not a problem. I am also afraid that he will know. Is there anything else? Okay, then second, don't come to me when there is nothing. I will naturally call you when I miss you. Wang Lixia thought about it and said her second request. You are looking for me? Lu Jifei frowned. He couldn't accept this request. After a moment of hesitation, he said, You usually have Su Xiaobin with you. How can you think of me? If you are looking for me, this time is not the right time, right? Wang Lixia pretended to be coquettish and glared at Lu Jifei. Don't you understand what I said? Understand what? Lu Jifei was a little stunned, but Wang Lixia's way of speaking was very seductive. Wang Lixia's face was red, and she whispered shyly, You were so powerful just now. You are much more powerful than Xiaobin. Of course, I will miss you. Oh. Really? Lu Jifei was overjoyed when he heard it. His eyes narrowed into a slit. Really? Am I so powerful? You are such an enemy. Do you want me to say it? Wang Lixia reached out and hit Lu Jifei a few times. Otherwise, why do you think I am your lover? The conditions you said are not attractive to me. Xiaobin can sit in the position of the branch's general manager this time. We are naturally not short of money. Lu Jifei heard that Wang Lixia was right. If Su Xiaobin sat in the position of the branch's general manager, he would definitely not be short of money. Thinking of this, if Wang Lixia agreed to him rashly, then Lu Jifei would definitely have doubts after he figured it out. Now that Wang Lixia said the fundamental reason, Lu Jifei was suddenly relieved, and he was very happy in his heart. Any man who was praised by a woman would be happy, let alone Lu Jifei, this big pervert. Therefore, Lu Jifei no longer had any doubts. He thought, I have picked up a treasure this time. Since Wang Lixia thinks that I am very powerful in that aspect, she will definitely fully cooperate with me in the future. In this way, this lover is interesting. Su Xiaobin clenched his fists. He never would have thought that Wang Lixia would say such filthy and obscene words. How did the docile and well-behaved Wang Lixia become so unbearable? Su Xiaobin was really angry this time. If you were forced to have a relationship with Lu Jifei, I can forgive you. Even if you were confused for a while, I wouldn't be so angry. But even if it happened, you still want to continue being his mistress? What is this Wang Lixia's brain thinking? Is she shameless? Chapter 1367. Hee, it seems that you understand my true nature. Lu Jifei was very proud. Lixia, you can rest assured. This time, it is not my full strength. Let's do it again. I will definitely be better than this time. Of course, I believe in you. Wang Lixia's voice was very coquettish, making Lu Jifei's bones soften. Let's not do it again. Let's try it now. Lu Jifei suddenly began to be eager to try. Even if you don't feel tired, I am tired. Wang Lixia shook her head coquettishly. Why don't you know how to cherish me? Okay, then wait. Let's talk about it later. Seeing that the beauty in his arms had an opinion, how could Lu Jifei not comply? That's more like it. Wang Lixia nodded. Actually, this is a matter between a man and a woman. It's fine if you think it through. That's true. Lu Jifei saw that Wang Lixia thought it through, and he was very happy. How could he object? Right, you tell me. What trick did you use just now? Why do I think you are Su Xiaobin? Wang Lixia pretended to be curious and asked. However, this was her real purpose of pleasing Lu Jifei against her will. She wanted to know the reason. Maybe you're mistaken. Lu Jifei said perfunctorily. He was not afraid that Wang Lixia would know the truth, but he didn't want to be looked down upon by the beauty, so he didn't want to say his despicable means. Impossible. Wang Lixia said, actually, when we did that before, I found that something was wrong because you are much more powerful than Su Xiaobin. But when I looked at you, you were still Su Xiaobin, not you. Wang Lixia's words were pure nonsense. She was simply lying to Lu Jifei. However, if she didn't say so, Lu Jifei probably wouldn't tell the truth. Hearing Wang Lixia praising his strength again, Lu Jifei was a little confused. Since Wang Lixia wanted to know, then Lu Jifei did not intend to hide it anymore. If Wang Lixia hated him because of this little thing, then the loss outweighed the gain. Su Xiaobin, who was outside the door, was stunned. He seemed to understand Wang Lixia's purpose of doing this. He wronged Wang Lixia. Previously, when Lu Jifei and Wang Lixia were doing that, Su Xiaobin was watching outside the door. It was nonsense to say that Lu Jifei was better than him. At most, he had more tricks. It seemed that Lu Jifei was a weakling. Now it seemed that Wang Lixia had done all this to pave the way for this problem. Su Xiaobin also understood that the reason why Wang Lixia did not resist before and cooperated with Lu Jifei was because the person she saw was not Lu Jifei, but himself. Well, her. This woman, so all those pretentious performances before were all for the sake of finding out the truth of the matter. Okay. I'll tell you. Since Lu Jifei decided not to hide it, then he would tell the truth. He also wanted to build a deeper relationship with Wang Lixia now, so it was too late to please her. You tell me. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. You even know how to disguise yourself. Wang Lixia said, right, I like the prison break male lead. Next time when you mess with me, can you disguise yourself as him? This is not a disguise. Hearing Wang Lixia talk to him so casually, Lu Jifei was even more unguarded. He said, actually, this is a kind of camouflage. Camouflage? What do you mean? Asked Wang Lixia. I have a magical incense. A Thai boss accidentally bought it in an ancient tribe in India. He gave me some. Lu Jifei explained, when this kind of incense is lit, it will give people an illusion, making them involuntarily fall into an illusion. They will see the things in front of them as things in their memory. This is the so-called camouflage method. Illusion? You mean that when I saw you as Su Xiaobin, it was an illusion? Wang Lixia asked, then why did I see you as Su Xiaobin? Why not someone else? As the saying goes, what you think in the day, you dream at night. You must have been thinking about Su Xiaobin before. When I saw you two doing it halfway, you must have been thinking about him coming back quickly. So, when you saw me enter the door, you couldn't help but think of me as the Su Xiaobin in your mind. That's why I went to your bed, and you didn't refuse. Lu Jifei said proudly. In other words, your incense can use people's memory to make the things in front of them uncontrollable? Wang Lixia thought. Sure enough, it turned out to be such a despicable means. Something like that. This kind of incense can pass the things in the memory to the brain through the retinal nerve, making people think that what they see is the actual effect. Lu Jifei explained, Lixia, you are quite smart. You can't let a fool be your lover, right? Wang Lixia smiled, but she hated Lu Jifei in her heart. He used such a despicable means to make her mistakenly think that he was Su Xiaobin, so she had sex with him in a daze. This was absolutely unforgivable. That's right. Let's do it again. Lu Jifei saw that Wang Lixia seemed to have been completely captured by him at this moment, and he was very proud in his heart. No, Su Xiaobin is coming back soon. You don't want him to catch you in bed, right? Wang Lixia pushed Lu Jifei. There will be plenty of time in the future. Don't give yourself away. That's right. There will be plenty of time in the future. After listening to Wang Lixia's words, Lu Jifei's heart shuddered. He was so happy that he almost forgot the time and place. After being reminded by Wang Lixia, he knew that this was not a safe place, so he nodded solemnly. Dear, then I'll go first. Okay. Let's go. Wang Lixia nodded. I won't send you off. You don't have to send me off. I'll go by myself. Lu Jifei jumped out of bed and quickly put on his clothes. Su Xiaobin outside the door took a deep breath, and his clenched fist slowly loosened. It was not a good idea to rush in at this time. Although Lu Jifei said the reason, this evidence was obviously not reliable if Su Xiaobin really wanted to take Lu Jifei down. However, he had made up his mind that he would never let Lu Jifei go. For the time being, before he thought of countermeasures, Su Xiaobin decided not to confront Lu Jifei head-on. Moreover, Su Xiaobin also had another plan for not entering the door at this moment. That was, he wanted to test and see what Wang Lixia was thinking. Although he guessed that Wang Lixia did all this afterward was to pretend to be obedient to Lu Jifei's incense, Su Xiaobin still had some doubts in his heart. After all, which man could really let go of this kind of thing? Therefore, this was also an opportunity for Wang Lixia. If Wang Lixia really confessed to him and said Lu Jifei's modus operandi, he decided to forgive Wang Lixia. After all, this was not Wang Lixia's fault. He would not vent his anger on Wang Lixia. However, if Wang Lixia concealed this, then Su Xiaobin would never be with such a woman again. Hearing that Lu Jifei had begun to put on his clothes in the room, Su Xiaobin quickly flashed out of the office and entered a small supermarket opposite. President Su, are you here to buy something? The owner of the supermarket knew Su Xiaobin and knew that he was the manager of the Jiangyan Group's Songjiang office. He didn't know how much power Su Xiaobin had, but the Jiangyan Group was well known, so he was very respectful to Su Xiaobin. I'm buying a pack of cigarettes. Su Xiaobin absent-mindedly threw out 100 yuan. What kind of cigarettes do you want? Asked the boss. Whatever. Su Xiaobin's eyes stared out of the window, watching Lu Jifei walk out of the door of the office. He felt like a knife was twisted in his heart. He couldn't wait to kick this person to death, but he couldn't do so at this moment. Chapter 1368. Seeing Lu Jifei starting the car and leaving from a distance, Su Xiaobin's clenched fists slowly loosened, and a trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. Incense, the incense that can cause hallucinations. Under the impulse just now, Su Xiaobin had no time to think about it, but now after his mood calmed down slightly, Su Xiaobin frowned. Previously, he had the thought that he seemed to have caught something, but he couldn't grasp it. At this moment, Su Xiaobin had some epiphany. Previously, when signing the contract, Lu Luo was also arranging incense in the conference room of the Huihai Business Club. Thinking of this, the doubts in his heart were suddenly confirmed. Why did Jing Xiaolu and Wang Hong review the contract so many times, but there was still a problem in the end? It must be the incense. It was only under the effect of the incense that the content of the contract that Jing Xiaolu and Wang Hong saw became the content of the contract in their minds before, thus achieving the purpose of a smokescreen. Lu Jifei, since you are heartless, don't blame me for being unrighteous. Since I know, I will definitely tell Jing Xiaolu about this matter and let your efforts go down the drain. President Su. President Su. The supermarket owner saw Su Xiaobin staring out of the supermarket window in a daze with an unpredictable expression, so he quickly called him. Oh. What's the matter? Su Xiaobin recovered and looked at the supermarket owner. Your change and your cigarettes. The supermarket owner put the cigarettes and change in Su Xiaobin's hand. Su Xiaobin grabbed the cigarettes and change and put them in his pocket. He strode out of the supermarket and walked to his own office. Lu Jifei had already driven away, but Su Xiaobin's mood was very complicated. When his hand touched the door handle of the office door, he hesitated. He and Wang Lixia had many years of relationship foundation. They knew each other when they were in school, and it was quite difficult for them to be together until now. He didn't want to give up this relationship. However, he was afraid that Wang Lixia would deceive him. He had decided that if Wang Lixia confessed to him what happened before, then he would definitely let bygones be bygones. He would cherish this woman more in the future and not let her suffer a little bit of harm. But if Wang Lixia pretended not to know anything, could he continue to live with such a woman? Although Su Xiaobin had previously determined that Wang Lixia was feigning civility toward Lu Jifei, who could guarantee that this was the case? The affairs of the world were unpredictable. Everything could be changed before it was confirmed. When Lu Jifei left, he had already locked the door of the office. Su Xiaobin took out the key and opened the door of the office. After taking a deep breath, he strode in. Su Xiaobin tried to make his expression look normal, as if nothing had happened, and walked into the house. Before he reached the inner room, he heard the sobbing sound in the room. Su Xiaobin's heart tightened, and he quickly quickened his pace. Before, he was afraid that Wang Lixia would hide something from him, but now, he began to care about Wang Lixia, afraid that she would think too much and do something stupid. When he opened the door of the inner room, he saw Wang Lixia curled up in the quilt, crying silently. Su Xiaobin was shocked and ran over. "Lixia, what happened to you?" "Xiaobin. I'm sorry." Wang Lixia looked up and saw Su Xiaobin, but she didn't stop crying. Instead, she cried even more sadly. Hearing Wang Lixia's words, all the discomfort in Su Xiaobin's heart toward Wang Lixia dissipated at this moment. Since Wang Lixia could say this, it meant that she didn't want to hide anything from him. "Lixia, don't say it. I know everything." Su Xiaobin's heart softened, and he forgave Wang Lixia. "What? You know everything?" Wang Lixia was stunned. She raised her head in surprise and looked at Su Xiaobin inconceivably. "When I came back, I just heard the conversation between you and Lu Jifei." Su Xiaobin sighed. After Wang Lixia listened to Su Xiaobin's words, she suddenly showed a horrified expression. "Xiaobin, you have to believe me. I said those words to lie to him. I don't want to be his mistress. I hate him. I can't wait to kill him." "I know. How can I not understand what you mean?" Su Xiaobin grabbed Wang Lixia's hand and comforted her with a bitter smile. "You want to find out Lu Jifei's means. How can I not hear it? Otherwise, I would have rushed in long ago. I just didn't want to alert the enemy, so I held back my anger and listened to him." "You believe me?" Wang Lixia listened to Su Xiaobin's words and breathed a sigh of relief. "Naturally, I believe you." Su Xiaobin nodded solemnly, and then there was a hint of resentment in his eyes. "Lixia, you can rest assured. I will definitely avenge you." Wang Lixia wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and reached for a mobile phone. "Xiaobin, I recorded what Lu Jifei said before. Can we use this as evidence?" "You recorded it?" Su Xiaobin suddenly rejoiced. He didn't expect Wang Lixia to have a backup plan. He suffered from not being able to catch Lu Jifei's evidence. This was great. With the recording in this mobile phone, it was useless for Lu Jifei to deny it. Wang Lixia handed the mobile phone to Su Xiaobin. "Although I am only the Lu family's grandnephew with a different surname, I believe that the old man, Lu Jiangyan, will definitely help me this time." Su Xiaobin held the mobile phone in his hand and said bitterly. "Don't call the police?" asked Wang Lixia. The incense was taken away by him. "We don't have strong evidence. If he bites back, I'm afraid." Su Xiaobin sighed. "Moreover, in this matter, if we call the police, the Lu family will definitely protect Lu Jifei. In any case, we can't wash our dirty linen in public. At home, the old man can help us. If we really make a fuss, the old man will definitely find a way to suppress the matter. At that time, we will be weak." "Okay, I will listen to you." Wang Lixia nodded. As long as Su Xiaobin could stand up for her, she was satisfied. After several stops to refuel, the plane landed at the airport closest to the butterfly castle. As soon as they left the airport, the people from the butterfly family arrived to greet them. "Mr. Fong, Mr. Yang, the old master asked me to pick you up." The person who came was the butler of the butterfly family, Muanping. Yang Ming had seen him once when he was here for training. "Uncle Mu, hello." Yang Ming greeted politely. Although he came to break off the engagement, he still had to have the minimum courtesy. Just as Fong Tian said, even if the marriage didn't work out, the relationship between the two families couldn't be shelved because of breaking off the engagement. Butler Mu nodded to Yang Ming in a friendly manner. He was still very satisfied with this future son-in-law of the butterfly family from the bottom of his heart. Butler Mu was the confidant of the old man, Wang Songshan. He naturally knew about the matter between Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan. He also knew about the farce of breaking off the engagement this time. Of course, the final result was predictable. It was nothing more than Wang Songshan and Fong Tian joining forces to mess with Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan. It was a bit like an eye for an eye. It was a bit funny when he thought about it. These two old guys were already so old, but they still didn't respect themselves and were sulking with the younger generation. Wasn't it because when this engagement was first proposed, Wang Xiaoyan didn't agree, and Yang Ming didn't agree? However, thinking about it was just thinking about it. Butler Mu's face didn't have any ripples. He couldn't expose himself, otherwise, Wang Songshan and Fong Tian would hate him. "Old Mu, your martial arts seem to have improved." Fong Tian looked at the hale and hearty Butler Mu and was surprised. "How long has it been?" "It's only been a few months, but Butler Mu seems to have become younger." Chapter 1369. Aren't you the same? Butler Mu smiled and said, "People at our age will go downhill if we don't exercise." Fong Tian nodded. Due to the particularity of the assassin profession, when people reached a certain age, their physical functions would age. It was difficult to maintain their peak state. Whether it was Fong Tian, Muanping, or Wang Songshan, they did not slack off on their physical training. However, people would always age one day. No one could defy nature. They did this to prevent themselves from regressing. It was difficult to make further progress. Under Muanping's guidance, Yang Ming and Fong Tian got into an off-road vehicle. Because the location of the butterfly castle was in the mountains, ordinary cars couldn't drive in. Only off-road vehicles could do it. What did old Wang arrange? Fong Tian, Muanping, and Wang Songshan had been friends for decades, so they spoke casually without so many rules. "You and Mr. Yang stay in the butterfly castle first. Tonight, the master will meet with Mr. Yang first. Tomorrow, he will arrange to meet with the Mississippi. Both of you can talk to each other again." Muanping still gave considerable respect to Fong Tian. After all, his identity was a butler. They were familiar with each other, but the rules couldn't be broken. Hearing Fong Tian's question, Butler Mu was a little amused. He thought, "Didn't you already finalize the itinerary plan with Wang Songshan? Why are you asking me instead?" Thinking about it carefully, it was nothing more than acting in front of Yang Ming. "Okay, then I'll trouble you." Fong Tian nodded. Yang Ming had no objection to these arrangements. Since he had made up his mind to break off the engagement this time, no matter what the arrangement was, he would not change his original intention. For the miss of the butterfly family whom he had never met, whether she was as beautiful as a fairy or not, Yang Ming would not be interested in her. There were too many beautiful women. Yang Ming couldn't marry every one of them, right? That was simply an international joke. Even if the island he bought in Africa was big enough, his energy was limited. "What about Mr. Yang?" asked Butler Mu. "I will follow your arrangements." Yang Ming smiled. Butler Mu nodded and said nothing. The car drove all the way to Butterfly Castle. This time, Yang Ming came here openly, unlike the last time when he snuck in and suffered a lot on the way. After entering the Butterfly Castle, Yang Ming and Fang Tian were arranged in two adjacent rooms. There were many vacant guest rooms in the Butterfly Castle, so Yang Ming and Fang Tian occupied two of them. After Butler Mu left, Yang Ming came to Fang Tian's room. "Old man Fang, what is this Butler Mu planning? Why do I feel like the way he looks at me isn't right?" Fang Tian thought to himself that he was lucky. Luckily, Yang Ming was only suspicious and didn't see anything suspicious. His apprentice was really not ordinary. He was so keen that he could feel the unusualness of Muanping's gaze. This Muanping most likely wanted to see Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan make a fool of themselves in the end, so no matter how well he concealed it now, it was inevitable that he would inadvertently reveal a trace of strangeness. It was this unintentional strangeness that aroused Yang Ming's suspicion. "Maybe it's because you want to break off the engagement. Although the young lady is not willing to marry you, she will lose face anyway, so it's natural for her to look at you strangely." Fang Tian found a reason to explain. However, Yang Ming heard that Fang Tian's reason was really reasonable, so he believed it. It turns out to be like this. He was a little disgruntled in his heart. "Your young lady is not willing to marry, and I am not willing to marry. This is the best of both worlds. What is so strange about it? Women were just weird. It's like when you pursue a girl, although she doesn't agree with you and doesn't like you, if you suddenly stop pursuing her, she will definitely feel uncomfortable in her heart." Therefore, Yang Ming didn't doubt Fang Tian's reason anymore. "Yeah, you are better. When I rejected Wang Songshan's sister, the Wang family wanted to kill me." Fang Tian still had some lingering fear when he thought about it. Yang Ming smiled after listening. "Your situation is different. You are Uncle Wang's sister. She likes you, but you rejected her. She naturally hates you." AI. Fang Tian was a little absent-minded when this matter was mentioned. "If I didn't reject her, she wouldn't have chosen to commit suicide." Yang Ming was a little silent. Although he knew that Fang Tian and the Wang family master's sister had a grudge, he didn't expect the ending to be like this. Fang Tian rarely mentioned it. This time, he mentioned it when they were talking about it. "Forget it. Let's not think about this." Fang Tian sighed and waved his hand, but his expression was indescribable. Yang Ming suddenly had a feeling that there seemed to be some secret between old man Fang and Wang Songshan's sister. Could it be that Fang Tian actually likes Wang Songshan's sister? Although Yang Ming and Fang Tian had a master-disciple relationship, one didn't respect the old, and the other didn't respect the old. Therefore, the relationship between the two was like a teacher and a friend. There was no taboo when they talked. Thinking of this, Yang Ming asked directly, "Old man Fang, you actually like the Wang family master's sister in your heart, right?" Fang Tian's eyes flashed. He looked up at Yang Ming with some astonishment. "You brat, how did you know?" Yang Ming was just testing casually. He didn't expect to be guessed correctly. He was a little amused. "I guessed it. It turned out to be like this." "So you tricked me? You little brat." Fang Tian was stunned. He was angry and amused. "Why are you asking so much?" "I'm just asking. I'm a little curious." Yang Ming said, "Since both of you have feelings for each other, why not be together? Could it be that your brain was pierced?" Fang Tian heard Yang Ming's question and rolled his eyes. He thought, "You and Wang Xiaoyan still have feelings for each other. Why are you still breaking off the engagement? If my brain was pierced, your brain would be flooded with water." However, this could only be thought about. He couldn't say it out loud. At least before this plan was implemented, the truth couldn't be revealed. "At that time, I had a wife." Fang Tian glanced at Yang Ming and said faintly, "The woman who sought refuge with Husan." Yang Ming knew that Fang Tian had a tragic love story. He found a woman, but this woman hooked up with Husan. Husan framed Fang Tian and sent him to the detention center. "Not her. She was my first wife." Fang Tian waved his hand. But she passed away later. Beautiful women are short-lived. You have a wife, but it doesn't hinder you from being with Uncle Wang's sister, right? After Yang Ming heard it, he was still baffled. Besides, you remarried later. Can't you marry Uncle Wang's sister? Do you think I'm as fickle as you? At that time, I was very devoted. Fang Tian glared at Yang Ming. Devoted? Are you devoted or are you fickle? Yang Ming also rolled his eyes at Fang Tian. You have admitted that you like Uncle Wang's sister. Are you still devoted? Cough cough. Fang Tian suddenly blushed when he heard Yang Ming's words. He coughed twice awkwardly. Wasn't that an accident? I didn't want to hurt each other, so I chose to break off with Ruoshui. But I didn't expect to hurt Ruoshui. Ruoshui? Yang Ming heard this name for the first time. Wang Songshan's sister, Wang Ruoshui. Fang Tian sighed slightly. The beautiful figure of that year appeared in front of him, making his heart tremble. Yang Ming nodded. Wang Ruoshui, a very nice name. That year, after rejecting Ruoshui, she left a note saying that she wanted to end her life and disappeared. Fang Tian smiled bitterly. When I remarried, there was no news of her. Whether she was alive or dead, there was no news. Then you didn't look for her again later? Asked Yang Ming. Why not? Fang Tian said, you know my relationship. I cast an inescapable net like this, but there was no news of her. You can't find her if she's alive or dead? Asked Yang Ming. You can say that. Fang Tian nodded and sighed. However, Ruoshui herself is also an outstanding assassin. If she really wants to hide, I may not be able to find her. Hearing Fang Tian say this, Yang Ming knew that there was still a glimmer of hope in Fang Tian's heart. He hoped that Wang Ruoshui did not commit suicide, but hid. In this way, there was still hope. If this is the case, it's really hard to say. Yang Ming hesitated and said, it's always good to have hope. Maybe Senior Wang Ruoshui will live in seclusion for the rest of her life. I hope so. Fang Tian sighed and waved his hand. Okay, let's not talk about me. Let's talk about you. Have you really decided to break off the engagement? Of course, it's true. Otherwise, why are we here? After Yang Ming heard it, he smiled strangely. What do you mean? Since we're here, we can naturally be engaged, Fang Tian said. Chapter 1370. Yang Ming was speechless. Why? Do you want me to marry the butterfly families, miss? I'm afraid that you will regret it in the future, and regret it for life. Fang Tian shrugged and said, just like me. Yang Ming was speechless again. No, I definitely won't. You have the emotional foundation, but I don't. Fang Tian glanced at Yang Ming with an indescribable meaning. Well, this is your decision. I tell you, you won't have this opportunity again. You have to think about it. Others don't have a chance to woo the butterfly family's Mississippi. You have a chance, so why don't you seize it? Uncle Wang asked you to be a lobbyist? Yang Ming frowned. You don't think that you owe Senior Wang Ruoshui, so you want me to marry the Wang family's miss to make up for it, right? Cough cough. Fang Tian laughed twice and didn't speak. Yang Ming was too lazy to care about him. He shrugged, left Fang Tian's room, and returned to his room to rest for a while. Su Xiaobin hated Lu Jifei. Even Lu Jifei's attitude toward the Mingyang Security Company's contract was very displeasing. The final operator was himself. If this contract was enforced, then this newly formed escort company would not be able to go too far. It was estimated that it would come to an end soon after it was established. Under this kind of unequal cooperation, it was impossible for Mingyang to run the company wholeheartedly. It was good enough that they didn't deliberately slack off and play dirty tricks. It was impossible to expect them to do things sincerely. The so-called cooperation was based on mutual benefit between both sides. If one side benefited, it was not called cooperation, but an unequal treaty. No one was willing to fully implement the contract under this kind of treaty. The Ming-Yang Security Company was no exception. Therefore, Lu Jifei's approach was simply trapping him. He got the performance, but he left him here to clean up his mess. It was simply an asshole's behavior. At that time, if the company did not operate well and closed down, this bad debt would be on his head. What did it have to do with Lu Jifei? So the more Su Xiaobin thought about it, the angrier he became. He originally thought that Lu Jifei was here to help him. Now, it was simply a double loss. Of course, Su Xiaobin would not sit still. This matter had nothing to do with him. Why should he hide it for Lu Jifei? He picked up the phone and dialed Jing Xiaolu's number. Vice President Jing, this is Su Xiaobin. President Su, how is it? Jing Xiaolu had been anxiously waiting for Su Xiaobin's call. Vice President Jing, I have figured out the matter. It was Lu Jifei's doing. Where are you now? I will find you and tell you the truth. Su Xiaobin hated Lu Jifei. If he didn't push Wang Lixia down, maybe Su Xiaobin would help him hide it. After all, this involved the overall interests of the Lu family. If he told Jing Xiaolu the truth, he would be suspected of being a traitor. But now, there was a crack between Su Xiaobin and Lu Jifei, and it was a crack that was impossible to repair. Just after Su Xiaobin saw Lu Jifei doing that kind of thing to Wang Lixia, Su Xiaobin had already formed a gap with Lu Jifei. He would never let Lu Jifei have an easy time. I'm still in the Huihai Business Club. You figured out the truth of the matter so quickly? Jing Xiaolu was a little suspicious. Su Xiaobin just went back for more than half an hour. How did he figure out the truth so quickly? Is he just being perfunctory with me? Yes, let's meet and talk. Su Xiaobin said affirmatively, I'm going now. Okay, then you come over. Although Jing Xiaolu didn't quite believe it, seeing Su Xiaobin's solemn vow, she believed it for the time being. The most important thing was that now she had no choice but to believe in Su Xiaobin. Since things had developed like this, she could only get the truth from Su Xiaobin. Now the only hope was that Su Xiaobin was not in cahoots with Lu Jifei. In this way, it was possible to reverse the matter. Otherwise, it was really at the end of the line. For a long time, Jing Xiaolu had wanted to make some achievements and show her ability to take charge in front of Yang Ming. She wanted to become Yang Ming's assistant, a useful person to Yang Ming's career. When Yang Ming gradually became inseparable from her, the matter between the two would be logical. But now, the first business was screwed up. Jing Xiaolu really wanted to die. Am I really that stupid? I can even fall into a contract trap. I'm no different from a big fool. This time, Su Xiaobin came very quickly with hatred for Lu Jifei in his heart. He drove all the way. After running countless red lights, he finally arrived at the Huihai Business Club in 20 minutes. Walking quickly to Jing Xiaolu's table, Su Xiaobin sat down with a gloomy face. He didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. Vice President Jing, all of this is because of that bastard Lu Jifei. Jing Xiaolu listened to Su Xiaobin's address to Lu Jifei, and she was a little stunned. Aren't the two of them in cahoots? Even if Lu Jifei did this behind his back, the profit was also for the Jiangyan group. Why did Su Xiaobin call Lu Jifei a bastard? Su Xiaobin saw Jing Xiaolu's expression, and his face was slightly red. I have some personal conflicts with Lu Jifei. Sorry, my address is a bit extreme. Jing Xiaolu raised her eyebrows, but she didn't expect Su Xiaobin to have a conflict with Lu Jifei. However, this was other people's private affairs. If Su Xiaobin didn't say it, Jing Xiaolu couldn't ask. She nodded and said, I also guessed it was him, but how did he do it? Incense. He used a special kind of incense. When it came to incense, Su Xiaobin gritted his teeth in hatred. If it weren't for this bullshit, how could Wang Lixia be ruined by Lu Jifei for no reason? Incense? Jing Xiaolu frowned slightly, seeming to think of something. Indeed, in the signing conference room, there were a few lit incense sticks. Jing Xiaolu didn't care at first. She thought it was to decorate the signing venue more elegantly, but now, after Su Xiaobin said so, she couldn't help but fall into contemplation. Yes. Su Xiaobin said, this was obtained from a wizard in India by a Thai boss that Lu Jifei knew. After it is ignited, it can have a psychedelic effect on people. You mean, because of the effect of this incense, Wang Hongcha and I both had hallucinations, so we signed the contract in a daze? Jing Xiaolu didn't believe it. That's right. Su Xiaobin nodded. What is certain is that the contract that Lu Luyo gave you before is a real contract. There is no problem. When you and Wang Hongcha check this contract, you will definitely pay special attention to some of the key details above. Is that right? Jing Xiaolu nodded. Yes, in the contract, the most critical parts naturally have to be paid attention. So, these details are particularly deep in your and Wang Hongcha's memory. Su Xiaobin said, when Lu Luyo replaced the contract, you also had doubts. When the contract was reviewed a second time, what you focused on was nothing more than the previous details. Jing Xiaolu nodded and motioned for Su Xiaobin to continue. The effect of this incense is like this. The details you see are not really fed back to the brain through the retinal nerve under the effect of the incense. Your brain has already hallucinated under the effect of the incense. The things you see are actually the things you remembered deeply before, so no matter what you see in the contract, the feedback data in your brain is the previous correct ones. So, you and Wang Hongcha unknowingly fell into the trap of the contract, Su Xiaobin explained. It turns out to be like this? Jing Xiaolu's face had changed. This was the first time she heard of this technique. In the past contract fraud cases, there was no such situation. It could be said that this was simply impossible to guard against. If they were not careful, they would fall into the other party's trap. It could be said that this time, they did not lose unjustly. It was not that they were not capable enough, but the opponent was too insidious. He actually used this kind of underhanded method to achieve his purpose. That's about it, said Su Xiaobin. How do you know so much? Jing Xiaolu calmed down. She also had a trace of doubt about Su Xiaobin's words. Why would he tell me this? You know, he and Lu Jifei are on the same side. Chapter 1371. Since you didn't know beforehand, it can be said that Lu Jifei did this behind your back. He didn't want to tell you. However, you actually figured out the truth in a short period of time. Can you explain the reason? Jing Xiaolu continued to ask without waiting for Su Xiaobin to answer. Su Xiaobin smiled bitterly. He knew that Jing Xiaolu wouldn't believe him so easily. An hour ago, he still didn't know. An hour later, he understood the truth of the matter. No one would believe this speed. Moreover, what Jing Xiaolu said was not wrong. Lu Jifei deliberately concealed this matter from him. So, how did he know the truth of the matter? At this point, Su Xiaobin had to tell the truth. He wanted revenge, but his weight was obviously not enough. He could only pin his hopes on Jing Xiaolu. In any case, the Mingyang Company was very powerful and had a strong background in Songjiang. As for whether it could compete with the Jiangyan Group, Su Xiaobin was not clear. However, as long as there was a glimmer of hope, it was good. These are all my guesses. Su Xiaobin said with a bitter smile. Guessed? Jing Xiaolu's eyes widened. You guessed? How did you guess? Because Lu Jifei also used the same method on my girlfriend. Su Xiaobin clenched his teeth and said the pain in his heart. What do you mean by using it on your girlfriend? Jing Xiaolu didn't understand. No one could understand this. Now, I won't hide it from you. Vice President Jing, I'm done. Please don't laugh at me. Su Xiaobin's expression turned into a look of pain and indignation. President Su, you can say it. I won't laugh at you. Jing Xiaolu felt that Su Xiaobin seemed to be a bit off since the second time he sat here today. Whether it was his expression or what he said, there was some unusual weirdness. Today, after I signed the contract, I was very happy. I won't hide it from you. If our cooperation goes smoothly, I can at least sit in the position of the general manager of the Jiangyan Group's Songjiang branch. Since Su Xiaobin opened his mouth, he had no scruples. After going back, my girlfriend, Wang Lixia, and I were very happy, so naturally, we went to bed. You know what happened next. Jing Xiaolu often heard Gu Ximiao say some dirty words. Now that she heard a man say these things, she couldn't help but blush. She thought, I haven't done it. How would I know what will happen next? However, this was not the time to be entangled in these details. Jing Xiaolu nodded faintly and waited for Su Xiaobin to continue. In the end, I received a call from you halfway through. Su Xiaobin sighed. You said that there was a problem with the contract. I was shocked at the time. I couldn't care about other things and rushed here. What does that have to do with Lu Jifei? Jing Xiaolu hadn't heard anything about Lu Jifei until now. Instead, she listened to Su Xiaobin's words as if he was dissatisfied with her interrupting his good deed. Lu Jifei sneaked into the office after I left and secretly lit the incense. Su Xiaobin's face became extremely ugly at the moment. Previously, Wang Lixia and I did it halfway. She naturally hoped that I would go back earlier. So, under the influence of the incense, she regarded Lu Jifei as me and had that kind of relationship with Lu Jifei. When I went back, they just finished. Wang Lixia also found that something was wrong and questioned Lu Jifei. In order to let Wang Lixia continue to maintain the relationship with him as a lover, Lu Jifei didn't hide the effect of the incense. I happened to be standing at the door and heard it. Although Su Xiaobin omitted the details in the middle and didn't elaborate, the general meaning was clear. Jing Xiaolu was a little stunned when she heard it. She didn't expect there to be such a change in it. At this moment, she also understood why Su Xiaobin's expression was so ugly. She also understood why he didn't hesitate to tell the truth to her. Su Xiaobin probably hated Lu Jifei and was eager for him to make a mistake. Su Xiaobin was also happy to see Lu Jifei use her to retaliate against Lu Jifei. It turned out to be like this. I'm really sorry to let you talk about the pain in your heart. I shouldn't have asked so much. Jing Xiaolu was a little apologetic. After all, no matter what purpose Su Xiaobin had to tell her the truth of the matter, it was difficult enough for him to tell this painful thing to her again. It's nothing. Su Xiaobin smiled bitterly. I will never let this matter go. The cooperation between us will not stop because of Lu Jifei's mischief. I will report the truth of the matter to the group and ask the chairman to allow us to re-sign the contract. Then, I'll trouble you. Jing Xiaolu was naturally very grateful when she heard that Su Xiaobin was willing to deal with it. Although she now knew the truth, there was no evidence. Even if she went to court, she couldn't win against Lu Jifei. Vice President Jing, if there is nothing else, I will go back first. I need to be alone. Su Xiaobin knew that even if the contract was changed back, Jing Xiaolu would never let it go. Lu Jifei's hatred was set. With the strength of Ming Yang Company, not to mention retaliating against the Jiangyan Group, it was more than enough to retaliate against Lu Jifei. This was also the reason why Su Xiaobin told Jing Xiaolu these things frankly. Of course, President Su. Don't be too sad. Jing Xiaolu was also very sympathetic to Su Xiaobin's experience. This man was also unlucky enough to be cuckolded by Lu Jifei. Su Xiaobin took a long breath, stood up, and walked quickly to the door. He left the Huihai Business Club and quickly disappeared from Jing Xiaolu's sight. After getting Su Xiaobin's guarantee to deal with it, Jing Xiaolu didn't feel much relaxed. Su Xiaobin and Lu Jifei, who had more authority in the group, would decide the final result of this matter. Su Xiaobin's words were repeated to Bao Sanli and Wang Hongcha. The two were also stunned for a long time after listening. Bao Sanli slammed the table. This Lu Jifei is too much. I believe that Brother Yang won't let him go easily if he is here. The Lu family is behind him. Even if we are angry, what can we do to him? Jing Xiaolu also had no choice. She didn't expect Lu Jifei to have such a strong background. If she knew this, she wouldn't have provoked him in the first place. Yeah, Xiaolu, since Su Xiaobin promised to deal with it, we can only wait for his result now. Bao Sanli said, if he succeeds, we will remember Lu Jifei's account for the time being. If there is a chance in the future, we will definitely get back at him. But if the deal fails, we have to hand this matter over to Brother Yang to decide. Let me think about it again. Jing Xiaolu didn't want to tell Yang Ming about it. If Yang Ming knew about it, he would definitely look down on her and think that she was incompetent. However, since things had reached the point where they were out of control, and she didn't have a good solution, she could only trouble Yang Ming. Bao Sanli also understood Jing Xiaolu's mood. When he heard Jing Xiaolu say this, he had to say, well, Xiaolu, you think about it again. If you really can't do it, you can contact Brother Yang again. Bao Sanli also had no choice. He didn't want to offend either side, so he could only drag it out one day at a time. After all, this company belonged to Yang Ming's family. Sooner or later, it would belong to Jing Xiaolu's family, so he still chose to be silent for the time being. Jing Xiaolu, where did your little cleverness go? Jing Xiaolu was a little annoyed that she was useless now. She was being played around by others, but she didn't have any power to fight back. It was simply too shameful. She had always been the one bullying others. Now that she was being bullied by others, she could only watch helplessly. This feeling was really uncomfortable. Jing Xiaolu sulked at herself for a while, and her mood slowly calmed down. If I were to put myself in Lu Jifei's shoes, would I reveal any flaws after doing this? Chapter 1372. After Su Xiaobin left the Huihai Business Club, he did not stop and drove directly to Haicheng. Driving the car that Lu Jifei temporarily provided for him, Su Xiaobin felt a little funny. Driving Lu Jifei's car to complain to Lu Jifei was quite novel. However, Su Xiaobin really didn't like the old Toyota that Lu Jifei lent to him. His bad feelings toward Lu Jifei did not reduce. Lu Jifei lent him this car just to make it more convenient for him to sign the contract. It was a bit shameful to drive this kind of car, so Su Xiaobin would rather take a taxi than drive. Now, he was anxious, so he drove this car out. Looking at the magnificent building in front of him, Su Xiaobin sighed in his heart. He was also a child of the Lu family. Some people were leaders in the headquarters when they were born, but he was placed in the office. There was a huge difference in office environment and salary. Su Xiaobin went to negotiate, but Lu Jifei got the first credit after the negotiation. He could enter the group as a middle-level leader, but Su Xiaobin still stayed in the office. It was nothing more than possible to be promoted to the general manager of the branch. However, this was not the case. The most annoying thing was that Lu Jifei did not treat Su Xiaobin as a partner of the same level at all. He simply played Su Xiaobin like a monkey. He even treated Su Xiaobin like a fool. Not only did he bypass Su Xiaobin after signing the contract, but he also set a trap for the other party. Although this could be said to be for the group's interests, aren't you pushing yourself into the fire pit? The contract was signed, and you left, but you left me here to continue to cooperate with the Mingyang Security Company. If the other party had resentment, it would be directed at me. Moreover, what Su Xiaobin couldn't tolerate the most was that Lu Jifei actually took advantage of the time when he met Jing Xiaolu to push Wang Lixia down. A friend's wife shouldn't be bullied. It seemed that Lu Jifei didn't regard Su Xiaobin as a friend, but a tool that could be used. Since Lu Jifei was heartless, then Su Xiaobin also thought about it. Lu Jifei couldn't blame Su Xiaobin for being unjust. After parking the car, Su Xiaobin touched the copy of the contract in his pocket and Wang Lixia's mobile phone. Su Xiaobin resolutely walked into the building of the Jiangyan Group. "Hello, sir. What can I do for you?" As soon as he entered the door, Su Xiaobin was stopped by the reception lady at the front desk in the lobby. Su Xiaobin smiled bitterly. As the office manager, he was insignificant in the eyes of others. He only came back once a year for the year-end report. It was understandable that these receptionists did not know him. "I am Su Xiaobin, the manager of the Jiangyan office." As Su Xiaobin spoke, he took out a company's identification card from his pocket and handed it to the reception lady. "I have something important to see the chairman." "It's manager." The receptionist's face showed a smile. Although she had not taken the identity card in Su Xiaobin's hand to check it carefully, this card was specially made by the group, so what Su Xiaobin said was true. After taking Su Xiaobin's identity card, the receptionist swiped it on the computer, and Su Xiaobin's information immediately appeared on the computer screen. The receptionist compared it with Su Xiaobin. After confirming that there was no mistake, she returned the identity card to Su Xiaobin. "Manager Su, I'm sorry to have delayed your time. Please understand." "It's okay." Su Xiaobin quickly waved his hand. The reception lady was polite to him, but it didn't mean that she was afraid of him. It was just out of the formulaic work system. He was a small office manager. His position in the group was very low. Here, Su Xiaobin didn't dare to put on airs. "I have important things to report to Chairman Lu. Do you have an appointment?" asked the reception lady. "No, but it is urgent. I must report to the chairman immediately," said Su Xiaobin. "Well, I will help you ask if the chairman is free now." The reception lady smiled and nodded. She picked up the phone and dialed a number. "I am Xiao Li at the front desk. Manager Su Xiaobin of the Songjiang office is here. I have important things to report to the chairman." "Okay, I will wait for your call." "How is it?" Su Xiaobin asked anxiously. "I called the secretary's office. They will see if the chairman is free to see you," said the reception lady. "Okay, thank you." Su Xiaobin nodded and waited. After a while, the phone at the front desk rang. The reception lady picked up the phone, said a few words, and hung up the phone. She smiled and said to Su Xiaobin, "Manager Su, sorry to keep you waiting. Chairman Lu and President Lu went to the Donghai branch early this morning. They will come back in about a week. The one at home now is Vice President Lu. What do you think?" Su Xiaobin naturally knew who this Vice President Lu was. He was Lu Zhenan, the eldest son of Lu Jiangyan's third son, Lu Hua. Thinking of this, Su Xiaobin couldn't make up his mind. If he was facing the old man, Lu Jiangyan, he was 100% sure that Lu Jiangyan would make the decision for him. He wouldn't let Lu Jifei go easily, but it was hard to say about Lu Zhenan. Everyone knew that the second and third generation of Lu Jiangyan were fiercely fighting for power in the company, especially the third generation. They had fought fiercely. Lu Hua's two sons, Lu Zhenan and Lu Zhiqiao, were fighting fiercely. There was also the eldest son, Lu Heng's daughter, Lu Huamei, who also had a pivotal position in the group. Although Lu Jiangyan was also aware of this situation, he did not interfere. As long as these children did not go too far, he would not interfere. Instead, he quietly watched them fight among themselves. This could also be considered a test for the successor. Now it seemed that Lu Hua's eldest son, Lu Zhenan, won, but Lu Jiangyan was not very optimistic about Lu Zhenan. Lu Zhenan could sit in the position of vice president because of his age advantage. He entered the company a few years earlier than Lu Zhiqiao and Lu Huamei. He only became the vice president because of Lu Hua's care. On the contrary, Lu Jiangyan was very optimistic about his youngest granddaughter, Lu Huamei. She entered Yanjing University at the age of 14. When she was 15, her father, Lu Heng, had a car accident. Lu Huamei took a break from school and entered the company. She went from a small marketing manager to the position of financial director. Although she had Lu Jiangyan's support behind her, even a fool would understand that Lu Jiangyan would not support her if she did not have the ability. Although Lu Zhenan and Lu Zhiqiao were dissatisfied with Lu Huamei's participation, they had repeatedly suggested to their father, Lu Hua, to exclude Lu Huamei, but they were sternly rejected by Lu Hua. Lu Hua was not stupid. The old man was not dead yet. Wouldn't it make the old man vigilant if they did it so obviously? At that time, if he were to be removed from his position, then the losses would outweigh the gains. However, although Lu Jinan and Lu Zhiqiao were also fighting each other, they were in agreement when it came to Lu Huamei's problem. If they could get Lu Huamei out of her position, they did not mind joining hands once. Although the complex situation of the group was not something that a collateral descendant like Su Xiaobin could participate in, he was also very clear about it. If he went to Lu Jinan, would he help him? Su Xiaobin was in a dilemma. However, Lu Jiangyan went to Donghai and would only come back after a week. I can't wait for him here for a week, right? If Lu Jifei took the initiative to complain, would lose the opportunity. It was unknown what would happen then. Thinking of this, Su Xiaobin could only go to Lu Jinan and hope that he could help him. Okay, please help me arrange it. Thinking of this, Su Xiaobin said to the receptionist. Chapter 1373. Little Su, please sit down. Although Lu Jinan was very polite, there was a hint of condescending arrogance in his tone. However, it was no wonder. He was now the vice president of the group, only under Lu Jiangyan and his father, Lu Hua. For these relatives of the Lu family, he was the sky, so there was no need to please these relatives. In Lu Jinan's view, Su Xiaobin, an outsider, didn't even need to be roped in. It was impossible for him to enter the core of the group. Vice President Lu, I am here to report to you. Su Xiaobin sighed in his heart. We are all people, but why is the gap so big? If I were born in the orthodox Lu family, then maybe I would not do worse than Lu Jinan. Lu Jinan's brows frowned imperceptibly. He was a little disgusted by Su Xiaobin's title. Generally speaking, out of respect for the superior, the subordinate would remove the word vice in front of the position and call it some president. It was only possible to add the word vice when the superior addressed the subordinate. In fact, other employees in the group also called Lu Jinan President Lu. Of course, Lu Zhiqiao and Lu Huamei were exceptions, but they all called Lu Jinan elder brother. Lu Jinan's father and old master Lu directly called him Jinan. Although they didn't distinguish anything verbally, their impression of Su Xiaobin in their hearts was greatly reduced. They felt that this was a person with poor judgment. If Su Xiaobin knew that such a title offended Lu Jinan, he would definitely complain in his heart. Isn't this Lu Jinan too narrow-minded? Please sit down. Lu Jinan pointed to the sofa next to him and said calmly. Okay, thank you, Vice President Lu. Su Xiaobin sat on the sofa. If you have something to say, just say it. I still have a lot of work to deal with here. Lu Jinan heard Vice President Lu again, and he was even more uncomfortable in his heart. His attitude towards Su Xiaobin also became indifferent. Vice President Lu, this is the case. Our Songjiang office cooperated with the local Mingyang security company to set up an escort company. Do you know about this? Asked Su Xiaobin. Lu Jinan nodded. Of course, he knew about this matter. Lu Jifei found him because of this cooperation and expressed his intention to surrender, so Lu Jinan took it seriously and let this matter proceed smoothly. I know. What's wrong? Is there a problem with the cooperation? Lu Jinan frowned. According to Lu Jifei's report, today should be the signing day. Why did Su Xiaobin suddenly come to Haicheng? Yes, I encountered some trouble. Su Xiaobin nodded affirmatively. Vice President Lu, please take a look at this contract first. Lu Jinan took the contract and looked at it. At first, he didn't think much of it, but after seeing some details that were highlighted, his eyes suddenly lit up. This contract is signed very well. This is quite advantageous to us. Very good. Su Xiaobin sweated a bit. He thought, from the perspective of your own interests, it is naturally very good, but have you considered the interests of others? Hearing that Su Xiaobin's tone was somewhat rhetorical, Lu Jinan suddenly frowned. Why? Is there anything wrong? Vice President Lu Jifei used extraordinary means to deceive the other party into signing this contract. The other party noticed that something was wrong and came to me with the contract. Su Xiaobin said with a bitter smile. Extreme measures? What do you mean? Lu Zhenan looked at the contract. Isn't this signed by the other party? Is it forged? That's not the case. Things are like this. Su Xiaobin said that Lu Jifei used incense to sign the contract. Lu Zhenan listened to Su Xiaobin's words as if he was listening to a myth. He asked, "Is what you said true? Since you know what incense he used to deceive the other party into signing the contract, why didn't you stop it at that time?" "I didn't know at the time. Lu Jifei did it behind my back." Su Xiaobin said, "It was only after the other party's people found me that I learned the truth." "So, you didn't see all this with your own eyes, but you heard it from hearsay? Who told you this? Lu Jifei?" Lu Zhenan had some opinions about Su Xiaobin in his heart. "The contract has been signed, and it is obviously beneficial to our side. You don't help your own company, but you speak for others." "What do you mean?" "Moreover, you also went behind Lu Jifei's back to complain about him. This is obviously destroying the unity." "No, I inferred it," said Su Xiaobin. "Su Xiaobin, you are also an office manager. Can't you be more mature? You inferred it? How did you infer it?" Lu Zhenan raised his eyebrows and changed the topic. "Did you receive any benefits from the Mingyang company? Why do you speak for them everywhere? It's not like this." Su Xiaobin was shocked and quickly waved his hand. "Vice President Lu, I have evidence here." "What evidence?" asked Lu Zhenan. "I have a recording of what Lu Jifei said on my phone. You will understand when you listen to it." Su Xiaobin took out Wang Lixia's phone that recorded Lu Jifei's conversation from his pocket, turned to the recording column, and pressed the play button. "You think about it. You have become my lover. Can I treat you badly?" Lu Jifei's voice came from the phone. "What is this?" Lu Zhenan frowned at the time. "Vice President Lu, you listen to it first." Su Xiaobin saw that Lu Zhenan was a little impatient and quickly explained, "There is an explanation later." Lu Zhenan nodded and listened patiently. He could still recognize Lu Jifei's voice, but when he heard Wang Lixia speak, he couldn't help but ask, "Who is this woman?" "She is my girlfriend, Wang Lixia." Su Xiaobin gritted his teeth and said with some resentment, "Vice President Lu, you have to give me justice. Lu Jifei used incense to occupy my girlfriend." Lu Zhenan did not answer. His heart became dignified as he listened to the conversation between Lu Jifei and Wang Lixia. It seems that there is indeed such a thing as incense. However, Lu Jifei was one of his own people. He had just joined Lu Zhenan. This time, if the negotiation was successful, Lu Zhenan would arrange for him to be the Deputy Director of the Human Resources Department or the Deputy Director of Finance in the company. These two positions, one was held by Lu Zhiqiao, and the other was held by Lu Huamei. This made Lu Zhenan's usual work very constrained. This time, Lu Jifei joining Lu Zhenan was an opportunity. Lu Zhenan believed that Lu Jifei had this stepping stone of cooperation performance. If Lu Zhenan recommended him, his father should also follow Lu Zhenan's wishes. Lu Zhenan's business methods were not good. He could sit in this position entirely because of his father's contributions and the advantage of his age. After he sat in the position of vice president, he did not do much. Most of the time, he was competing for power with his younger brother and sister. Therefore, when Su Xiaobin wanted to sue Lu Jifei, his first thought was that Su Xiaobin was an outsider. He could not keep him. "Oh, so to speak, this incense thing does exist." Lu Zhenan said faintly, "However, what do you want me to do for you? This contract is obviously beneficial to our company. You are also one of the contributors. I want an explanation for Lu Jifei occupying my girlfriend." Su Xiaobin said excitedly. "Oh, this matter? I also heard the recording. Your girlfriend is not a good thing. She even wants to be Lu Jifei's lover. It is a consensual matter. How can I decide for you? You are not married, and she is not married. Love is free. Lu Jianan smiled faintly and clicked the delete button. This kind of thing that destroys the internal unity of the company should be deleted. Don't. Su Xiaobin grabbed the phone, but he saw a few typed words on the phone screen in despair. The recording file has been deleted. You. Su Xiaobin's eyes were about to burst into flames. He did not expect that Lu Jianan not only did not help him, but also deleted the evidence. He pointed at Lu Jianan, and his whole body was trembling. Why did you delete it? Okay, Xiaobin, don't be excited. Lu Jianan changed into a sincere attitude. I deleted it for your own good. If this matter continues, it won't do you any good. What the old man hates the most is infighting. If you use this obviously consensual thing as evidence, the old man will definitely have a bad opinion of you. At that time, you won't even be able to keep your position as the manager of the office. Lu Jianan's approachable tone calmed Su Xiaobin's excited expression slightly. He looked at Lu Jianan suspiciously. Really? Why would I lie to you? Lu Jianan smiled bitterly. Take my own situation as an example. Chapter 1374. In fact, Lu Zhiqiao, Lu Huamei, and I are also fighting for power. The old man saw it, but he didn't interfere. Why is that? Lu Jianan paused for a moment. That's because we are fighting with real swords and spears, and not using this kind of backstabbing method. Indeed, you said that your wife was raped by Lu Jifei with incense, but how can the recording in your phone be called evidence? I heard that it was consensual, let alone the old man. Do you think the old man will care about this matter after hearing it? Don't you think it's good enough that you and Wang Lixia worked together to trick Lu Jifei? Su Xiaobin was stunned. He only heard that old man Lu did not interfere with the power struggle of Lu Jianan and others, but he did not expect there to be such a deep rule. Although he didn't know whether it was true or not, looking at Lu Jianan's expression, Su Xiaobin had to believe it. After all, thinking about it carefully, the evidence in the phone was really not much evidence. Lu Jianan was right. The words that Wang Lixia said in the phone recording were all words to please Lu Jifei. Who would believe that she was pretending to please him? Anyone who listened to this recording would think that these two people were consensual, not forced by one party. Even if Lu Jifei succeeded with incense, it could be heard from Wang Lixia's words that she finally agreed to be Lu Jifei's lover. This was not evidence at all. If old man Lu Jiangyan heard it, he would definitely not support him. Su Xiaobin did not think about calling the police, but there was not enough evidence to do so. Secondly, he was afraid that Lu Jiangyan would have an opinion of him after knowing that he called the police. After all, the patriarchs of very big families were very protective. It was okay to fight openly and secretly in the family, but it was not okay to go out and lose face. Now that he heard Lu Jianan say this, Su Xiaobin was also discouraged. Then, this matter is over? Hee, when you have made some achievements in the future, are you afraid that you won't have a chance to deal with him? Lu Jianan said with a smile, but he said in his heart, Lu Jifei is now my person. Will I give you a chance to deal with him? Just based on your attitude in front of me, I have to deal with you. Otherwise, keeping someone like you, who would always use underhanded methods to accuse others behind their backs, would be a ticking time bomb. Lu Jianan had a plan in his heart, but on the surface, he said calmly, this time, I can strongly recommend you to be the general manager of the Songjiang branch. You also know that this position is very popular now. There are people in the group who want to compete for this position. Lu Zhiqiao is the head of the Human Resources Department. It is almost certain that he can arrange a trusted aide. But this time, I will talk to my father and give you a compensation. How could Su Xiaobin know that Lu Jianan was talking nonsense? Seeing that he sounded like he was telling the truth, he immediately believed him. In the past, he thought that he could be promoted to the general manager of the Songjiang branch, but he didn't expect so many people to compete for this position. But thinking about it carefully, there was indeed such a possibility. The direct descendants of the Liu family would definitely disdain this position, but they would definitely have some trusted subordinates. It was not impossible for them to arrange for their trusted subordinates to be in this position. After all, a branch office and an office were two different concepts. They could not be mentioned in the same breath. Then this contract. Su Xiaobin knew that he couldn't do anything to Lu Jifei for the time being, so he had to shift his focus to the contract. Since this contract has already been signed like this, it's not something that can be changed just because I say so. How about this? I'll discuss it with my father and give you an answer. Lu Zhenan said, leave this contract with me first. Okay, Vice President Lu, I will go back first. Su Xiaobin quickly got up and left. After Lu Zhenan said this, he also gave up the idea of pursuing Lu Jifei's responsibility now. In the end, his strength was still not enough. When he was stronger, it would not be too late to take action against Lu Jifei. After Su Xiaobin left, Lu Zhenan's face became gloomy. He picked up the phone on the table and dialed Lu Jifei's cell phone number. Lu Jifei was complacent. Not only did he retaliate against Jing Xiaolu, but he also just had sex with Wang Lixia. In his opinion, this life had become infinitely better. When he heard the phone ring, he picked up the phone and glanced at the caller ID. He suddenly showed a serious expression. President Lu, this is Jifei. What can I do for you? Lu Zhenan wanted to scold Lu Jifei, but every time he heard Lu Jifei's flattering and humble voice, he felt indescribable comfort in his heart. This kid really knows how to talk. Since this was the case, Lu Zhenan was inconvenient to scold, but his tone was still not very good. Lu Jifei, where are you? I am in Songjiang. President Lu, are you looking for me? Lu Jifei was somewhat inexplicable. This Lu Zhenan seems to be a little angry. You have signed the contract. What are you still doing in Songjiang? Why don't you come back and report to me? Asked Lu Zhenan. Lu Jifei's heart skipped a beat. How does Lu Zhenan know that I have signed the contract? And it seems that he is very angry because of this matter? Lu Jifei was shocked and quickly said with a smile, President Lu, this is the case. I have just signed the contract here, but I was thinking of buying some Songjiang specialties for you before returning to Haicheng to report to you. Lu Zhenan listened to Lu Jifei's explanation and couldn't help but find it funny. Isn't this a blatant lie? However, this lie made people feel very comfortable. Lu Zhenan snorted and said, what specialties are you buying? I think you are going to seduce someone's wife, right? Ah. Lu Jifei's hand that was holding the phone suddenly froze, and the sweat on his head also fell. How does this Lu Zhenan know my whereabouts? Is it a casual guess, or does he really know something? No need. Do you know that Su Xiaobin has already come to me to complain about you? Lu Zhenan snorted and said, hurry up and get over here. Otherwise, you kid won't even know how you died. Okay. I will go over right away. President Lu, you can rest assured. I will definitely drive the car like an airplane, or else I will not be called Lu Jifei. Lu Jifei quickly promised. This kid. Lu Zhenan shook his head helplessly and hung up the phone. If it weren't for Lu Jifei's loyalty to him and his pleasing words, Lu Zhenan wouldn't have cared about him at all. Motherfucker, how does this Su Xiaobin know about this? How did he get to Lu Zhenan so quickly? Lu Jifei cursed secretly. He was somewhat inexplicable, but he did not dare to delay. He quickly ran to the front of the car, got in the car, and went straight to Haicheng. On the highway, Lu Jifei and Su Xiaobin's cars passed by each other, but neither of them paid attention to the opposite car. Lu Jifei was now shocked and angry, and he was a little nervous. He didn't know if Lu Zhenan would deal with him. Su Xiaobin, on the other hand, was vexed and had a trace of indignation in his heart, but he was powerless. Lu Jifei had recently become a frequent guest of the Jiangyan group. The reception lady at the door also knew that he was the favorite of Vice President Lu Jinan, so she smiled and nodded to him. "Mr. Lu, are you looking for Vice President Lu?" Lu Jifei nodded. "Yes, President Lu just called me and asked me to come over." The reception lady nodded, called to confirm, and then said to Lu Jifei, "Mr. Lu, Vice President Lu is waiting for you in the office above." Lu Jifei took the elevator to the door of Lu Jinan's office. He knocked on the door and heard Lu Jinan's voice coming from inside, "Please come in. President Lu, I am here to ask for forgiveness." As soon as Lu Jifei entered the door, he lowered his head and made a look like he had made a mistake. His tone was quite sincere. "I have caused trouble for you." "Okay, you little brat." Lu Jinan looked at Lu Jifei's appearance as a slave, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "If I didn't cover for you here, Su Xiaobin might bring this matter to the old man." "Thank you, President Lu, for dealing with me." Lu Jifei said quickly, "I will risk my life to serve President Lu." "Don't say those useless things. Let me ask you. Is the incense thing that Su Xiaobin said true?" Lu Jinan waved and asked. Lu Jifei didn't dare to hide anything from Lu Jinan. He carefully explained, "Yes. There is indeed such a thing. I used incense too. I didn't ask you this shit. I asked if you also used this incense when you signed the contract." Lu Jinan glared at Lu Jifei and asked. "Yes, when I signed the contract, I also used incense." When Lu Jifei heard that Lu Jinan didn't intend to pursue the matter of him sleeping with Su Xiaobin's wife, he was relieved. This matter seemed to be over. Su Xiaobin guessed it. "He came to me and wanted to re-sign the contract," said Lu Jinan. Chapter 1375. What? Resigning? How can that be? Lu Jifei was shocked. "I spent a lot of effort to sign the contract like this. How can I just resign it? You tell me the truth. This contract was signed normally. You also made a great contribution. Why did you sign the contract like this?" Lu Jinan frowned. When Su Xiaobin took out the contract and explained everything to him, he began to wonder why Lu Jifei signed the contract like this, but he didn't ask because he didn't think Su Xiaobin would know. "Because I have some personal grievances with Jing Xiaolu of the Mingyang Security Company. This time, she was in charge of the negotiation, so I thought of such a way to mess with her. Anyway, the final contract signed is also beneficial to our company," said Lu Jifei. "Beneficial my ass." Lu Jinan glared at Lu Jifei. "Su Xiaobin told me before. You tricked them like this. Can they still cooperate with you sincerely? There is a gap between the two sides, and this newly established company won't go far." This. Lu Jifei really didn't think of this. He just wanted to mess with Jing Xiaolu before, and he felt that this contract was very beneficial to the company. He didn't consider the feelings of the Mingyang Security Company at all. Now that he heard Lu Jinan's reprimand, he suddenly realized that cooperation was two-sided. It wasn't just one party that had the final say. Lu Jinan sighed. This Lu Jifei still has a conspiracy, but he still doesn't know enough about the business world. However, it doesn't matter. My company doesn't lack talents. What I lack is this kind of conspiracy theorist who can help me get rid of my opponent. Well, you don't have to worry. I have already thought of a backup plan for you. Lu Jinan said, "Except for Su Xiaobin who knows about your use of incense, don't tell anyone else. I will also ask Su Xiaobin to shut up." "Thank you, President Lu." Su Xiaobin quickly thanked him. "After this time, I will transfer you back to the head office to be a deputy director of finance or deputy director of the human resources department," said Lu Jinan. "Leave the mess on your side to Su Xiaobin. Let him be a branch manager. If the company has problems in the future, blame it on him. President Lu is wise." Lu Jifei said quickly. In fact, he also thought so. In the future, he would look for Su Xiaobin for all the bad things. It had nothing to do with him. If you hadn't revealed the incense, it would have been a great achievement for you. After all, everyone saw the benefits in the contract. And you are the hero of this negotiation. As for how this branch will develop in the future, you don't have to participate. Lu Jianan said, okay, you go back first. Yes, President Lu. Lu Jifei responded. Right, that Wang Lixia isn't a good person. She promised you, then she recorded what you said with her mobile phone and sent it to Su Xiaobin to complain to me. If I didn't delete the recording quickly, you wouldn't be able to bear the consequences this time. Lu Jianan said, you should be careful in the future. Don't get involved with that Wang Lixia. Why do you like her so much? What kind of woman can't he have? He just had to provoke Su Xiaobin's woman. Please rest assured, President Lu. If I touch Wang Lixia again, I will castrate myself with a knife. Lu Jifei promised. Lu Jianan was happy after listening to Lu Jifei's promise. He waved his hand and let him go out. After Lu Jifei left, Lu Jianan hesitated. He picked up the phone and dialed the phone number left by Su Xiaobin. Su Xiaobin? I'm Lu Jianan, said Lu Jianan. Vice President Lu, hello. I'm Su Xiaobin. Su Xiaobin had just returned to the office. Before he could take off his coat, Lu Jianan's call came. He secretly thought that Lu Jianan was efficient. Su Xiaobin, I discussed with my father about what you told me, but he refused. Lu Jianan said, the company's contract is a big deal. Once it is signed, how can it be changed casually? If this precedent is broken, all the companies who have signed contracts with our company will come to our door and ask to re-sign the contract. Wouldn't it be a mess? But... Su Xiaobin did not expect that the request to re-sign the contract would be refused. But this time, the situation is different. This contract was signed under unfair circumstances. How can it be compared with a general contract? Yes, you said it's not normal. I know it's not normal, but what about others? Others don't think so. Lu Jianan said, I believe what you said about incense, but my father and grandfather don't believe it. They won't take this kind of weird reason seriously. I can't help you even if I want to. Vice President Lu, is there no turning point? Su Xiaobin asked unwillingly. Lu Jianan thought, if you didn't call me Vice President Lu, and you were more humble, maybe I could help you. But now, you are obviously not on the right track. Do you still expect me to help you? You can just be the stepping stone for Lu Jifei's promotion. No, this is a big group, a big company. It's not up to you to decide. Lu Jifei said, the contract is signed. If you want to change it, isn't it a joke? Okay, that's it. Wait. Before Su Xiaobin finished speaking, Lu Jianan had hung up the phone. Su Xiaobin had to smile bitterly. Xiaobin, how is it? Wang Lixia had taken a shower and dressed up. She sat on the bed anxiously waiting for Su Xiaobin to come back. However, Su Xiaobin was answering the phone as soon as he returned home. When he finished the call, Wang Lixia quickly asked. AI, don't mention it. Su Xiaobin's face showed a painful look. Your matter was suppressed by the group's Vice President Lu. He didn't let me continue to make trouble. He said that he would give me the position of the general manager of the Songjiang branch as compensation. What kind of compensation is this? Can't you take over the position of the general manager of the Songjiang branch? Wang Lixia was anxious when she heard it. I thought I could, but Vice President Lu analyzed the situation. I really don't have much hope. Su Xiaobin sighed. What's going on? Asked Wang Lixia. The Lu family, Lu Jianan, Lu Zhiqiao, and Lu Huamei are all fighting for power. Now that the Songjiang office has been upgraded to the Songjiang branch, the general manager of this branch has become a lucrative position. These three people all want to place their cronies in this position. Su Xiaobin explained, especially Lu Zhiqiao, he is the director of the group's personnel department. It is more convenient for him to place his cronies. So it is really hard to say if this position can be mine. What about now? Asked Wang Lixia. Now that Lu Jianan has recommended it, it should not be a big problem. Su Xiaobin said with a bitter smile. However, it doesn't matter if I take the position or not now. It is better not to be the general manager. Why is that? Why is it better not to be the general manager? Wang Lixia was surprised after listening to Su Xiaobin's words. Because Lu Jifei made things difficult and signed the contract like this. As Su Xiaobin spoke, he told Wang Lixia in detail about Lu Jifei using incense to sign the contract. Why is it incense again? Wang Lixia frowned after listening. In this way, the relationship between the two sides has become bad before the cooperation has started. You are really right. The position of the general manager of this branch was originally a good position, but now, I am afraid that no matter who sits in this position, they will not be peaceful. That's right, said Su Xiaobin. Anyway, I still have to study the countermeasures with Ming Yang's Vice President Jing first. After all, the matter was caused by us. We can't just ignore the other party. Chapter 1376. Yang Ming returned to his room. He had just taken a shower and changed into his pajamas. He was going to watch TV and rest for a while before calling Chen Mengyan and the others at home. However, he heard a knock on the door from outside the room. Who is it? Yang Ming didn't expect someone to knock on the door at this time. He clearly put the "Do Not Disturb" sign outside the door. Are the people who knocked on the door blind? It's me. Fang Tian's voice came from outside the door. Yang Ming was helpless. Why is this old man Fang Tian here again? Didn't I just come back from his room? However, Yang Ming could ignore other people knocking on the door. If Fang Tian knocked on the door, Yang Ming couldn't do anything. He had to open the door and complain, "Are you blind? Didn't you see the 'Do Not Disturb' sign?" Yang Ming saw another person beside Fang Tian halfway through his words. It was the current family master of the butterfly family, Wang Songshan, whom he met once during the Chinese New Year training here. Yang Ming quickly put away his previous playful expression and replaced it with a serious expression, "Greetings, Uncle Wang." Why? Aren't you going to invite us in? Wang Songshan looked at Yang Ming, nodded and asked. Yang Ming didn't know if his nod was appreciation or something else, but it wasn't good to delve into it. He quickly moved aside and said to Wang Songshan and Fang Tian, "Uncle Wang, Fang. Master, please come in." Fang Tian smiled and looked at Yang Ming with interest. "Old man Wang is not an outsider. You can continue to call me whatever you want. Old man Fang is more pleasing to the ear. I feel a little unnatural when you call me master." Yang Ming laughed twice and didn't answer. He could be rude when he was with Fang Tian, but in front of outsiders, Yang Ming still had to maintain the necessary respect. Otherwise, people would laugh at him for not knowing the rules. After Wang Songshan entered the house, he sat on the sofa and did not speak, but his face was gloomy. Anyone could see that he was not in a good mood, as if he was angry. Fang Tian, on the other hand, sat at the side. However, Fang Tian's expression was leisurely and complacent. There was even a hint of snickering. No matter how stupid Yang Ming was, he could see that Wang Songshan was definitely angry with him. Wang Songshan's nod when he entered the door was not a compliment, but a sign of anger. When Yang Ming saw that Wang Songshan didn't speak, he had to look at Fang Tian for help. Who knew that this old man still had an indifferent expression and was laughing there? Yang Ming gave him a few signals, but this guy actually turned a deaf ear and pretended not to see. Yang Ming was also helpless. This old man dropped the ball at the crucial moment. "Uncle Wang. Why are you here? Are you looking for me?" Fang Tian didn't speak, so Yang Ming couldn't be in a deadlock. He had to ask first. Otherwise, sitting there like this made Yang Ming feel a lot of pressure. It was as if he had done something to someone else's daughter, and her father had come to blame him. Old man Fong, is this your apprentice Yang Ming? Wang Songshan didn't answer after listening to Yang Ming's words. Instead, he snorted and looked at Fong Tian. Fong Tian laughed but didn't speak. Yang Ming had to bite the bullet and said, answering Uncle Wang, I am Master Fong Tian's apprentice. I didn't ask you. Wang Songshan waved his hand. He was a little dissatisfied with Yang Ming's interruption. Yang Ming smiled twice. He was a little embarrassed and complained in his heart. What the fuck is this? Your daughter also agreed to break off the engagement. Why does it seem like I made a unilateral decision? Does it make me the same as Chin Shimi? However, Yang Ming definitely wouldn't say these words. No matter how strong Wang Songshan was, he was Fong Tian's best friend. Even if he beat him up on the spot, Yang Ming couldn't fight back. He could only admit that he was unlucky, so Yang Ming wouldn't take the initiative to provoke him. What's wrong with my daughter? Why do you want to break off the engagement? Wang Songshan smiled coldly, looked at Yang Ming, and asked word by word. This. Yang Ming looked at Wang Songshan's expression, and his heart was helpless to the extreme. Senior Wang, as far as I know, I'm not the only one who is dissatisfied with this marriage. It seems that your daughter is also dissatisfied? Marriage is decided by the parents. My daughter's marriage is decided by me. Wang Songshan pointed at Yang Ming and said, and you are old man Fong's apprentice. Master is master, so a master is like a father. Your marriage is naturally decided by old man Fong. The muscles on Yang Ming's face twitched twice. He originally thought that he could smoothly break off the engagement when he came here, but he didn't expect this situation to happen. It seemed that the one who wanted to break off the engagement was Wang Songshan's daughter, not Wang Songshan himself. Wang Songshan seemed to be optimistic about this marriage. He was forced to agree to break off the engagement. His daughter and he didn't have this intention, but there was a glimmer of hope. He still hoped that this engagement would be maintained. As long as he agreed to this marriage, it would be impossible for Wang Songshan's daughter to break off the engagement unilaterally. Senior Wang, I don't agree with your words. What era is this? Love is free. How can you still mention those ancient engagements? Yang Ming knew that he couldn't weaken his momentum at this time. If his momentum weakened, he might fall into the other party's trap. He could only grit his teeth and resist. So, you are determined not to marry my daughter? Wang Songshan's face changed after listening to Yang Ming's words, and his eyes became cold. Yes. Yang Ming met Wang Songshan's gaze and said firmly. Wang Songshan only had the identity of an elder, which made Yang Ming feel a lot of pressure in his heart. But in terms of strength, Yang Ming felt that he would not lose to the person in front of him. Good, very good. Wang Songshan said good twice, but anyone could hear that he wasn't really saying that Yang Ming was good. He was saying the opposite. The families who want to marry my daughter and come to me to propose marriage can line up to the other side of the world. You actually don't want it. Uncle Wang, marriage is based on the love of both parties. I really don't have any feelings for your daughter. I hope you don't force this, Junior. Yang Ming knew that Wang Songshan would be angrier if he said this, but some words still had to be said. But there is a saying, I don't know if Uncle Wang has heard of it. It is called a forced melon is not sweet. It means that if I really get married to your daughter, then there will be no happiness in the future. Oh. How do you know that you don't have any feelings for her? Wang Songshan suddenly asked. Yang Ming was stunned. Wang Songshan's words made Yang Ming feel somewhat inexplicable. He thought, is this Wang Songshan confused? He smiled bitterly, Uncle Wang, I haven't even met your daughter. How can we talk about feelings? Really? Are you sure you don't have any feelings for my daughter? Wang Songshan seemed to ask somewhat unwillingly. Looking at Wang Songshan's artificial expression, Fang Tian, who was at the side, almost laughed out loud. However, he had undergone strict training and could control his emotions at will. His heart was overjoyed, but his face still had an indifferent expression that was not a smile. Fang Tian thought, this Wang Songshan is a master of acting. He obviously wants to play Yang Ming to death by asking this question. However, Fang Tian did not stop him. This old man's childish heart was not much worse than Wang Songshan's. What's more, he was just playing a little joke on Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan to let them suffer a little. However, Yang Ming did not know the plan in Wang Songshan's heart. He believed his question at the moment, Uncle Wang, you don't have to force this junior anymore. I came this time with the idea of breaking off the engagement. I won't consider anything else. Good. Good. Wang Songshan nodded and said angrily, my daughter is a national beauty. Others can't marry her even if they want to. I'm giving it to you for free, and you don't want it. Well, let me tell you, you won't have this opportunity again. Since you don't agree now, there's no place to regret in the future. Since Junior has already decided, how can I go back on my word? Yang Ming was stunned and said inexplicably. When I return to Songjiang, I don't even know if I can come to the butterfly castle again. I have offended the butterfly family completely. I guess I won't have any contact with them in the future. How can I go back on my words? Chapter 1377. Are you sure that you won't regret it in the future? Wang Songshan stared at Yang Ming as if he wanted to eat him up. I'll give you one last chance to make your final choice. Are you going to marry her or not? I'm telling you now. If you don't marry her, don't ever think about stepping into the butterfly castle again. There will never be a second chance. I won't regret it. Yang Ming gritted his teeth and said. At this time, I must hold on. If I waver slightly, Wang Songshan will definitely find a way to be aggressive. Yang Ming wondered, am I so good? Does Wang Songshan have to marry his daughter to me? His daughter wouldn't be ugly, would she? Otherwise, if she was really as beautiful as a fairy, why didn't she marry anyone? Why did she have to push him into her arms? Thinking of this, Yang Ming suddenly felt a chill down his spine. Great, I finally got it. Suddenly, a voice came into Yang Ming's mind. This is Wang Songshan's voice. Yang Ming was suddenly a little inexplicable. What does Wang Songshan mean? And I didn't say anything. Yes. Yang Ming suddenly remembered his special ability that he had not used for a long time. The special ability to see through other people's thoughts. Only when my spirit is highly concentrated and when the other party's spirit is also highly concentrated can my special ability work. Being forced to retreat by Wang Songshan, I was naturally very nervous. Unknowingly, my special ability worked, and Wang Songshan was also nervous? Yang Ming guessed correctly. Wang Songshan was indeed very nervous. He was afraid that Yang Ming would not be able to withstand the pressure and suddenly go back on his words. He would agree to his request and marry his daughter. If Yang Ming really agreed, then there would be no more fun. Therefore, his spirit was so nervous that he was relieved when Yang Ming finally decided that he would not go back on his words. He had the thought of, great, I finally got it. However, this sentence was somewhat inexplicable in Yang Ming's mind. Why can't Yang Ming understand? What do you mean by, too good? Could it be that he thought it was too good for her to break off the engagement? If it was too good, wouldn't it be contradictory? Yang Ming thought that Wang Songshan would definitely marry his daughter to him when he saw how Wang Songshan wanted to kill him. But the last sentence was obviously not in line with his previous mood. Could it be that there was a problem? Yang Ming's mind was spinning rapidly. If he didn't hear this sentence later, Yang Ming wouldn't have any doubts. But now that he heard Wang Songshan's idea, Yang Ming had a little doubt. However, no matter how hard Yang Ming thought about it, it was impossible for him not to guess Wang Songshan's true thoughts. Yang Ming would never have thought that Wang Songshan was Wang Xiaoyan's father. Although both of them had the surname Wang, in Yang Ming's opinion, they were two completely different people. How could there be any connection between them? Yang Ming didn't think that there would be any connection between Songjiang and Butterfly Castle. Yang Ming concentrated and wanted to continue to see Wang Songshan's thoughts, but unfortunately, he got nothing. Wang Songshan did not convey any new ideas. It seemed that he had relaxed his mind and was not focused on one point. Yang Ming couldn't detect other people's thoughts when their thoughts were not active. Yang Ming couldn't do anything about this, but even so, Yang Ming already felt that his ability was amazing. This ability to see through other people's thoughts had given him many warnings. He had also gotten a lot of benefits from it. Since he couldn't hear Wang Songshan's new thoughts, Yang Ming could only give up the idea of continuing to use his special ability. He thought, maybe Wang Songshan's previous actions were all for his face? In fact, he didn't want his daughter to marry him, but in order to maintain the face of the big family, he had to make a gesture. In the eyes of outsiders, it was Yang Ming who wanted to break off the engagement, not Wang Songshan's side. Although Yang Ming didn't understand whether there was a specific meaning in doing this, Yang Ming could only guess from the current situation. Wang Songshan's voice sounded again, and Yang Ming quickly threw these thoughts to the back of his mind. Well, in this case, our butterfly family will break off all ties with you. Wang Songshan said, we will have no relationship in the future. Do you agree? Yang Ming glanced at Fang Tian. What does it mean to have nothing to do with me anymore? Does he want to break off ties? Fang Tian and Wang Songshan have been old friends for many years. If they break off ties. Yang Ming wanted Fang Tian to say a few words, but this man was like a stone sculpture. He sat there with no other actions or words except for a faint smile. Yang Ming looked at him for a long time as if he was looking at a statue. Although Yang Ming was annoyed, there was nothing he could do. He knew that maybe Fang Tian didn't want to be caught in the middle. Fang Tian also had his own difficulties. It wasn't appropriate for him to side with either side, so he could only shut up. Yang Ming didn't want to make things difficult for Fang Tian. He sighed and said, Senior Wang, I don't dare to have any objections if you want me to break off ties with the butterfly family. But Master Fang Tian and you are best friends, of course, he won't break ties with me. I'm talking about you. Wang Songshan waved his hand impatiently and interrupted Yang Ming's words. That's good. Yang Ming nodded. Since Senior Wang said so, then I'm relieved. It's fine as long as it doesn't affect the friendship between you and my master. He is him and you are you. I'm not confused enough to confuse the two. Wang Songshan waved his hand. Thank you so much. Yang Ming clasped his fist. Since Wang Songshan didn't pursue anything, he wouldn't come to the butterfly castle again, so Yang Ming wasn't worried about anything. You're on your own now. Wang Songshan stood up and was ready to leave. Fang Tian also stood up and was ready to send Wang Songshan away. Before the two of them reached the door, they heard a rush of knocking on the door. Yang Ming frowned. Wang Songshan and Fang Tian came to find him and ignored the "Do Not Disturb" sign outside the door. It was understandable. They were all elders, so Yang Ming had nothing to say. But other people also came to knock on the door. Isn't this a bit too unruly? Sure enough, not only did Yang Ming frown, but even Wang Songshan frowned. He must have thought of this and asked coldly, "Who is it? What's the matter?" "Family master, you are really here." An anxious voice came from outside the door. Wang Songshan opened the door unhappily and glanced coldly at the person who came in. "Who let you come? Why are you so unruly? Don't you know that I'm talking to a guest? You are also a disciple with status in the family. Why are you still so impatient?" "Family master, you misunderstood. If it wasn't a big matter, I wouldn't be in such a hurry to find you," said the disciple carefully. "What's the matter? Say it." Wang Songshan's anger had subsided a little, and his gaze on the disciple was not so cold. "Family master, someone is causing trouble outside the butterfly castle," said the disciple quickly. "Causing trouble? What's the matter? Can't you even deal with a troublemaker?" Wang Songshan frowned again when he heard it. Although the butterfly castle was famous, there were also some people who overestimated themselves and came here to cause trouble. In the eyes of those people, if they could defeat the people of the butterfly castle, their reputation would suddenly reach the peak, so many people did not hesitate to take the risk. Of course, these people paid a painful price. Although they did not die here, they still went back on a stretcher with missing arms and legs. So, when Wang Songshan heard that someone was causing trouble, his first thought was that some people who overestimated themselves wanted to use the butterfly castle to become famous. However, this person's idea was probably good, but in reality, it was impossible to succeed. "Family master, that person is very powerful. We advised her to leave quickly and not make trouble here, but she didn't listen. We had to send a few disciples forward and wanted to forcibly invite this person away, but we didn't expect that person to knock down the 4 disciples who tried to dissuade her." The disciple carefully explained to Wang Songshan. "What? This person has some strength?" Wang Songshan was obviously stunned after listening to the disciple's description. Chapter 1378. The disciples who were responsible for guarding the safety of the butterfly castle were the best among the current third-generation disciples. Wang Songshan and butler Muanping were the current peak of the butterfly family. Tombstone and others were the backbone of the butterfly family. Wang Kejin was the best among the third-generation disciples. Although the disciples who were responsible for patrolling the butterfly castle were not as strong as Wang Kejin, they were also the best. That was why they were entrusted with heavy responsibilities, especially in terms of numbers. Wang Songshan heard that the troublemaker outside the door had actually knocked down 4 third-generation disciples with one move. This person's strength was indeed not simple. Although Wang Songshan, Muanping, Tombstone, and others could also do this, they were all the top assassins of the butterfly family. How could they be compared with a troublemaker? "Why don't you report to Butler Mu?" Wang Songshan frowned. Even if this troublemaker was quite strong, it was not to the point of alarming him. There had been such powerful troublemakers before, but Muanping had personally dealt with them. "Family master, Butler Mu accompanied Miss out early this morning. Miss seemed to want to buy something, so Butler Mu accompanied her personally," the disciple said respectfully. Wang Songshan nodded after listening. The butterfly castle was not in the city, but in a deep mountain. Wang Xiaoyan naturally had to go far if she wanted to buy something. She had not been back for a few years and was unfamiliar with the place. It was normal for Butler Mu to accompany her. "What is your name?" Wang Songshan asked. "Disciple's name is Wang Kezhao." The disciple replied quickly. "Okay, Wang Kezhao, tell me the specific situation in detail." Since Butler Mu had gone out, Wang Songshan had become the only person who had the final say in the butterfly castle. He had to personally ask about this matter. "Yes, family master." Wang Kezhao nodded heavily and began to say, disciple was patrolling outside the castle with several other disciples. At this time, a middle-aged woman came. As soon as she came up, she asked if Miss was engaged these few days. Disciple thought that she was a guest who came to attend the wedding and came to investigate in advance, so I didn't hide it and admitted it. Woman? Then? Wang Xiaoyan's engagement was not a secret in the European upper class, so Wang Songshan was not surprised and continued to ask. However, he was somewhat surprised that the visitor was a woman. Then, she asked again if Senior Fang Tian had come. But her tone was somewhat impolite. She didn't use senior, but directly called him by his name. Wang Kezhao didn't dare to conceal anything and even spoke of the details in detail. Oh. He knows old man Fang. Wang Songshan was slightly stunned and turned to look at Fang Tian. Could it be that Fang Tian's enemy came here to seek revenge? At this moment, Fang Tian's expression became somewhat inexplicable. Why did someone come to the butterfly family to look for me? Wasn't this a little too bizarre? Then how did you answer? Wang Songshan and Fang Tian looked at each other and saw that Fang Tian knew nothing about this matter. They had to continue to ask Wang Kezhao. Junior will naturally answer truthfully. Senior Fang Tian has already arrived at the butterfly castle, Wang Kezhao said. There is nothing wrong with your answer. Wang Songshan said, since she knows that my daughter is going to be engaged in these few days, then she must also know that my daughter is engaged to the king of assassins' last disciple. It is normal for her to know that Fang Tian is here. Yes, but her next words were a little impolite. Speaking of this, Wang Kezhao glanced at Wang Songshan and Fang Tian nervously and didn't dare to continue speaking. What did she say? Just say it. Wang Songshan waved his hand and asked. She said, ask that Fang guy to come out and greet me. After speaking, Wang Kezhao's face was a little embarrassed. Disciple was just repeating what the woman said. I didn't mean to be disrespectful to Senior Fang. I know, it's okay. Fang Tian waved his hand, but his brows were locked together. When did I have an enemy? Why did she come to the butterfly castle to seek revenge? Wang Songshan also looked at Fang Tian in surprise at this moment. Listening to the woman's words, it seemed that she really had a grudge with Fang Tian. However, Wang Songshan also showed considerable doubts about the woman's arrival at the butterfly castle. So, when several of our disciples heard that this woman was here to make trouble, we thought that Senior Fang Tian was looking for trouble. However, since she was looking for Senior Fang, we didn't dare to neglect. We asked her to tell us her name so that we could help her report. Wang Kezhao said, who knew that the woman sneered and said that if Senior Fang came out, he would know who was looking for him. We listened to her and asked her to leave. Who knew that she would knock down 4 of our disciples as soon as she made a move? I told the other disciples to stop and quickly ran back to report. The other disciples should still be in a stalemate with that woman. Old man Fang, is there a woman in your enemy's family? Wang Songshan glanced at Fang Tian and asked. I have retired from the underworld for almost 10 years. How can I have any enemies? Fang Tian smiled bitterly. I really don't know who this woman is. Forget it. Since you don't know, then let's go out and meet her. Wang Songshan looked at Fang Tian's pondering look and knew that he couldn't figure out the identity of the person, so he said, no matter what this person is looking for you for, since she dares to behave atrociously in front of the butterfly castle, I will never let her go. She dares to ask for people in my butterfly castle. This is clearly not putting me in her eyes. If this spreads out, people will think that I am easy to bully. Let's talk about it after we figure out the situation. Fang Tian was not in a hurry to get back his face. Although he was scolded by name, Fang Tian was not angry. There was no hatred for no reason in this world. Since this person found him, he must have offended her. However, the only thing that made Fang Tian feel strange was that he had been living in seclusion for 10 years. How could he offend a middle-aged woman? Wang Songshan nodded and walked out of the room. The disciple named Wang Kezhao quickly led the way respectfully in front. Fang Tian glanced at Yang Ming and said, you go with us and take a look. If they start fighting, you have to take care of it for me. Okay. Yang Ming was actually very curious in his heart. What kind of enemy does Fang Tian have? Since this person knows Fang Tian and can name him, I'm afraid that she is either very strong or crazy and wants to die. However, judging from the fact that she could knock down 4 disciples in one move, the first possibility was still more likely. It showed that this woman still had a certain level of strength. Otherwise, it would be impossible to knock down 4 disciples. Yang Ming, Fang Tian, and Wang Songshan followed Wang Kezhao out of the butterfly castle and walked towards the gate of the castle. Before they reached the gate, Yang Ming saw a beautiful woman standing proudly in front of the gate of the butterfly castle because of his special ability. This woman was very beautiful. Although she was already a little old, she did not lose her charm. What surprised Yang Ming in particular was that this beautiful woman's figure was well maintained. She was very fit. At first glance, it was obvious that it was the result of persistent training. This was the normal physical characteristics of people who practiced martial arts. The same was true for Wang Xiaoyan and Victoria. There was not a trace of excess fat on their bodies. Such a person, how did Fang Tian provoke her? Although this beautiful woman was very beautiful, her expression was very indifferent. There was a faint anger in her eyes, which made people feel very awe-inspiring. However, when Yang Ming looked at this beautiful woman, he only felt that she was a little familiar, as if he had seen her somewhere before. A few disciples of the butterfly family stood in front of her. They were all nervously confronting the beautiful woman. However, the beautiful woman didn't look as nervous as them. Instead, she was very casual, as if she didn't put these people in her eyes at all. This kind of attitude of looking down on the world showed her strength. Yang Ming could be sure at this moment that this beautiful woman had considerable strength. Moreover, since she came here to find trouble, she must have expected that Wang Songshan would become Fang Tian's helper. Even Fang Tian's disciple, who was himself, would not stand idly by. In this case, she still dared to do so. It could only mean one thing, that this beautiful woman was fearless. She had absolute confidence and capital to stand proudly in front of the butterfly castle. Chapter 1379. While thinking in his mind, his feet did not slow down at all. He followed Wang Kezhao and came to the gate of the butterfly castle with Fang Tian and Wang Songshan. However, when they saw the beautiful woman, they all showed a very strange expression on each other's faces. There was surprise in this expression, but in Fang Tian's eyes, there was also a trace of helplessness. Seeing Fang Tian's and Wang Songshan's expressions, Yang Ming knew that these two people must know the beautiful woman in front of them. Since this was the case, Yang Ming also gave up the idea of standing out. He stood quietly and observed the situation. "Sister, is that you?" Wang Songshan's mouth squirmed twice, and he finally asked. His eyes were full of unbelievable excitement. "You didn't die? I knew that you wouldn't die. You're finally back. That's great. Of course I'm not dead. That guy surnamed Fang is not dead. How can I die before him? I'm still waiting to kill him." The beautiful woman sneered and snorted. At this moment, even if Yang Ming was stupid, he understood that the person in front of him was Wang Ruoshui, the sister of the current family master of the butterfly family, Wang Songshan. Fang Tian's old lover. Yang Ming suddenly understood. No wonder he felt that this beautiful woman was a little familiar at first glance. It was as if he had seen her somewhere. Now that he looked at Wang Songshan carefully, there was indeed some similarity between their eyebrows. However, even so, Yang Ming felt that the person who looked like Wang Ruoshui in his impression was not Wang Songshan, but another person. However, he could not remember who else for a while. Sure enough, after Fang Tian heard the beautiful woman's words, his expression was a little complicated. "Ruoshui, don't call my name. You don't deserve it." The beautiful woman, should be Wang Ruoshui, coldly interrupted Fang Tian's words. Fang Tian was choked by Wang Ruoshui's words, and suddenly felt a little embarrassed. He opened his mouth halfway, not knowing whether to continue or to shut up. "Sister, it's good that you're back. Let's not talk at the door. Since you're home, let's go in." Wang Songshan was particularly excited. His sister, who had been missing for decades, whose fate was unknown, had suddenly appeared in front of him at this moment. This made him both surprised and afraid that he was dreaming. "I came back because I heard that my niece is getting engaged. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come back in my life." Wang Ruoshui didn't even look at Fang Tian, as if he didn't exist in front of her. Fang Tian stood there and suddenly felt uncomfortable all over. His old face flushed red. He wanted to say something, but Wang Ruoshui simply ignored him. However, Yang Ming found it a little funny. This Wang Ruoshui obviously could not forget Fang Tian. Otherwise, she would not have swore solemnly that Fang Tian should come out and greet her. However, now that Fang Tian had come out, Wang Ruoshui, as a woman, couldn't put down her pride. It was reasonable to leave Fang Tian aside for a while. Yang Ming didn't believe that Wang Ruoshui came back this time just for her niece's engagement. If she wanted to see her niece, she could come and see her at any time. Why did he have to choose this time? Besides, if he wanted to see her, why did he ask Fang Tian to come out and greet her? If it was really just to see her niece, it didn't matter if Fang Tian was here or not. It could be seen that Wang Ruoshui still couldn't let go of Fang Tian in her heart, but she was embarrassed to come up directly, so she used her niece as an excuse. If he could think of this, Fang Tian could think of it too. This old guy was very smart. He might be at a loss now, but it was also because he suddenly saw Wang Ruoshui. He believed that after a while, he would be able to figure out the key to the matter. This is my niece's fiancé. Wang Ruoshui followed Wang Songshan into the butterfly castle. When she turned around, her eyes fell on Yang Ming. At this time, the most surprised people were Wang Kezhao and the disciples of the butterfly family. They never thought that the legendary sister of the family master would actually appear today. Then, those disciples who were knocked down by Wang Ruoshui were not wronged. How could they be Wang Ruoshui's opponent? This is my disciple, Yang Ming. Fang Tian didn't wait for Yang Ming and Wang Songshan to speak. He took the initiative to greet them and said with a smile. Come to think of it, he also understood the reason. Yang Ming somewhat admired Fang Tian's IQ. He was indeed very powerful. He understood the key in such a short time and seized the opportunity to take the initiative to please Wang Ruoshui. However, people at the level of Fang Tian and Wang Songshan were not good at emotions as assassins. Although they were extremely fanatical and excited when they saw that Wang Ruoshui was not dead, they had already calmed down at this moment. Fang Tian even thought of the reason why Wang Ruoshui came back this time. If Fang Tian was not smart, he could not become the king of assassins, so he quickly guessed Wang Ruoshui's mentality at this moment. Fang Tian was secretly delighted. This time, Wang Ruoshui would probably not leave his side again after she came back. However, this process would probably take a lot of twists and turns. Although they were in love at this moment, Fang Tian had abandoned her in the past. If they reconciled easily now, where would Wang Ruoshui's face go? Women always need a way out of this embarrassing situation. However, Fang Tian was very happy to create such a way out. He already felt guilty in his heart. This time, he held this idea and was prepared to not fight back and not talk back. He would do whatever Wang Ruoshui said. Anyway, Fang Tian's face was much thicker now than when he was young. He didn't care about anything at all. Of course, his disciple, Yang Ming's face was even thicker. He was better than his master. Previously in the room, the conversation with Yang Ming had already evoked his longing for Wang Ruoshui and his nostalgia for the relationship when he was young. Now that there was such a good opportunity to revive, how could Fang Tian miss it again? Looking at Wang Ruoshui in front of him, although she was already in her 40s, she looked like a woman in her 30s. She did not look old. Fang Tian was even more delighted. This time, he had made up his mind to finally embrace the beauty. This disciple of yours is not bad. Wang Ruoshui didn't turn a deaf ear to Fang Tian's words this time. Although her tone was still not very good and her words were a bit harsh, it also showed that she didn't really want to ignore Fang Tian. But I really don't understand. How can such a disciple be taught by a trash master like you? Fang Tian laughed twice and didn't refute. Instead, he followed Wang Ruoshui's meaning and said, "It's just good luck, hee. However, although this disciple of yours looks good, who knows if he's just a good-for-nothing." Wang Ruoshui said and looked at Yang Ming. "If you want to marry my niece, then you must have real ability. Whether you are qualified or not, you must first pass me. Yang Ming was stunned and looked at Wang Ruoshui inexplicably. Could it be that she still doesn't know that I broke off the engagement? Let's compete. If you win against me, you can marry a woman from our Wang family. Wang Ruoshui looked at Yang Ming and said, if you can't win against me, then you can only blame your stupid master for not teaching you well. After Yang Ming listened to Wang Ruoshui's words, he thought, isn't this sowing discord? Fortunately, I don't really want to marry her niece. Otherwise, after I lose, I might really listen to Wang Ruoshui's words and complain about Fang Tian. Senior, you made a mistake. Yang Ming felt that it was better to explain clearly. It wouldn't be good to continue with this misunderstanding. Made a mistake? What did I make wrong? When Yang Ming's words came out, Wang Ruoshui was also somewhat inexplicable. Senior, I'm actually not here to get engaged with your niece. I'm here to break off the engagement. Senior Wang Songshan and Master Fang Tian can testify for me about this. They all know about it. Yang Ming explained. What did you say? You want to break off the engagement? Wang Ruoshui listened to Yang Ming's words, and her face suddenly became gloomy. A sharp murderous intent flashed in her eyes. Do you know who I hate the most in my life? Chapter 1380. Yang Ming didn't expect Wang Ruoshui to turn hostile without any warning beforehand. He was stunned, but when he saw Fang Tian and Wang Songshan, who were smiling bitterly, Yang Ming knew why Wang Ruoshui was so angry. He was here to break off the engagement, and wasn't she also broken off by Fang Tian in the past? Therefore, in her heart, she already hated this broken engagement. So when he said that he was here to break off the engagement, Wang Ruoshui became so angry. What is this? Originally, the broken engagement was successful, and Wang Songshan had already agreed. Now, the fiancé's aunt came out. It seemed that she still had a lot of resentment for him breaking off the engagement. This made Yang Ming very helpless. Senior Wang Ruoshui, you may have misunderstood. Your niece and I are not the same as you and Master Fang Tian. The two of you have feelings for each other. Your niece and I have never even met. How can we be confused? Yang Ming knew that he couldn't compromise at this time. Although the woman in front of him looked very powerful, Yang Ming would be hesitant if he really fought with her because of her identity. After all, this person had the potential to become a master's wife. But even so, even if Yang Ming didn't attack, he still had the ability to protect himself. He wouldn't be harmed by Wang Ruoshui, so he braced himself and said the above words. What do you mean by feelings for each other? Wang Ruoshui's expression changed. Being mentioned by a junior about the matter between her and Fang Tian made her feel very embarrassed. It was as if a sharp thorn had been stabbed into her heart. She immediately became a little unhappy. Of course, marriage is arranged by the elders. Back then, he and I also met under the arrangement of our parents. Yang Ming was stunned and scolded in his heart. I thought that these two people had feelings naturally and freely fell in love, but I didn't expect that they only had feelings after a blind date. What is this? Why did Fang Tian, this old undying old dang, leave mercy everywhere? He already had a wife at home, but he could still develop feelings for her through blind dates. He was really something. Then you two eventually developed feelings for each other. But I haven't even met your niece, so how can we talk about feelings? Yang Ming spread his hands and said with a wry smile, Senior Wang Ruoshui, you'd better not get involved in this matter. It's because we haven't seen each other that I can't take it anymore. Aren't you looking down on our Wang clan too much? You didn't even look at my niece and rejected her. You are really arrogant. Wang Ruoshui sneered. Although that Fang fellow didn't agree to this marriage back then, he still looked at me. Hee hee. It's not that I'm belittling myself, but that niece of mine is much more beautiful than I was back then. Wang Ruoshui didn't finish her words, but the meaning was obvious. Yang Ming could also hear it. That was, although Fang Tian said that he didn't agree to this marriage, he also had feelings for her at first sight. Now, her niece was more beautiful than her. He didn't even see her and wanted to break off the engagement. How could the Wang clan endure this? Although this theory was a bit messy, Yang Ming was too lazy to argue with Wang Ruoshui. This kind of person who had been emotionally hurt had reached an unimaginable level of stubbornness. Yang Ming didn't think that he could persuade her to change anything. Senior Wang Ruoshui, this junior is not arrogant, but you just came back, and there are some things you don't understand. It's best to ask your niece first and see what she thinks. Can you blame this junior again? Yang Ming laid out facts and reason, but Wang Ruoshui didn't listen. He could only let her personally verify it with her niece. So, this is the intention of both parties to break off the engagement? Wang Ruoshui frowned after listening to Yang Ming's words. She turned her gaze and looked at Wang Songshan. She was not an unreasonable person. When she heard that Yang Ming wanted to break off the engagement, she was furious. However, when she heard Yang Ming's words, there seemed to be more to it, so she asked Wang Songshan first before making a conclusion. Sister, of course, I want to be in-laws with Fang Tian. I asked Yang Ming many times before, but he refused to marry my daughter. I can't do anything about it. Wang Songshan shrugged and said with a distressed look. Wang Ruoshui's appearance had disrupted Wang Songshan's original acting plan, but he didn't mind letting Wang Ruoshui get involved. This kind of interference could only make this scene more interesting and exciting, so he could see that it was a success. Looking at Wang Songshan, who was very talented in acting, Fang Tian could only smile bitterly. This time, he really played big. After Yang Ming listened to Wang Songshan's words, a few black lines appeared on his forehead. What the hell is this? Isn't this overstepping my authority? Wang Ruoshui asked if your daughter agreed or not, but you downplayed it to me not agreeing. Isn't this distorting the facts to cover up the truth? This is great. It's getting more and more chaotic. Sure enough, Wang Ruoshui's face sank. She looked at Yang Ming coldly. Our Wang family has no intention of breaking off the engagement. You are the one who broke off the engagement, right? This. Yang Ming looked at Fang Tian helplessly, but he didn't expect this old man to tilt his face to the side without any loyalty. He didn't look at Yang Ming's eyes at all. Obviously, he didn't want to get involved in this matter. Yang Ming scolded in his heart, but he also knew that this matter now involved Wang Ruoshui. Even if this old man had two guts, he wouldn't dare to stand up for him. This trip to Europe, Yang Ming thought that breaking off the engagement would be very smooth. Fang Tian had also said before that both parties would agree to just meet and talk. Then, the engagement could be broken off. Previously, it was indeed proceeding according to this step. Wang Songshan found him to talk, and finally agreed to break off the engagement. But who would have thought that halfway through, Wang Songshan's sister, Fang Tian's old lover, Wang Ruoshui, actually came back. My luck is too strong. I can even encounter this kind of thing. Yang Ming had to admire himself. No wonder I can get special abilities. This kind of luck is hard to come by in 1,000 years. I can encounter all kinds of strange things. What's wrong? You have nothing to say? Wang Ruoshui snorted coldly and stared at Yang Ming as if she wanted to eat him up. Heartless man, still looking for so many reasons. Let's meet in the arena tomorrow morning. After Yang Ming listened to Wang Ruoshui's words, he really didn't know what to do. Senior Wang Ruoshui, I have already broken off the engagement. Do I still want to compete? Who agreed to you breaking off the engagement? Wang Ruoshui's eyes were cold. She looked at Wang Songshan and said, Did you agree? How could I agree? I tried to dissuade it before. Wang Songshan shook his head. So, did you agree? Wang Ruoshui's gaze turned to Fang Tian again and asked faintly. Fang Tian looked at Yang Ming and looked at Wang Ruoshui again. He lowered his head and whispered, I didn't, motherfucker. Fuck your mother. Yang Ming really wanted to point at Fang Tian's nose and scold him. This old man has learned to lie with his eyes wide open. He even betrayed his disciple for his lover. It's just too fucked up. Wang Ruoshui's gaze finally turned back to Yang Ming. Although she didn't speak, the meaning was obvious. That was, you are lying. Yang Ming took a deep breath. Now he felt that he had become an outsider and isolated by this group of people. Fang Tian had become Wang Songshan's brother-in-law in the blink of an eye. Naturally, it was impossible for him to help him. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have come. If he had stayed in Songjiang, no matter how powerful the butterfly family was, it was impossible for them to travel half of the world to find him. What do you say? Wang Ruoshui saw that Yang Ming didn't speak, so she asked impatiently, are you going to compete or not? What if we compete? What if we don't compete? Yang Ming had no choice but to bite the bullet and ask. Let's compete. Let's meet in the ring tomorrow. Wang Ruoshui paused when she said this. She had a playful expression on her face. If you don't want to compete, then you will live here until you want to compete. Is there a difference? It's just a matter of time. This woman is unreasonable. I really don't know how Fang Tian can stand it. Yang Ming sighed. Although he didn't go tit for tat, his words were very firm. If I don't want to compete, can you force me to compete? Even if I can't beat you, can't I run? I don't have the confidence to win, but I have the confidence to escape. Run? Wang Ruoshui smiled faintly as if she had heard a very funny joke. She stretched out her white finger and pointed at Wang Songshan and Fang Tian. Even if you have inherited the teachings of the surnamed Fang, do you think you still have the possibility of running away under the siege of the three of us? Chapter 1381. After listening to Wang Ruoshui's words, Yang Ming's expression suddenly became colorful. It was as wonderful as it could be. Wasn't this clearly bullying? Do you think it's poker? 3 against 1? Yang Ming was confident that his skills were not inferior to any of Fang Tian, Wang Songshan, and Wang Ruoshui. In a one-on-one battle, even if he couldn't win, he could still retreat. But now, with the 3 people attacking together, Yang Ming didn't even have to try. This was not a fair fight at all. The possibility of him retreating was slim. At this moment, Yang Ming understood that it was wishful thinking to reason with this woman. It was simply playing with his life. What made him particularly annoyed was old man Fang. Looking at Fang Tian's cowardly appearance, Yang Ming felt wronged. He originally thought that having the king of assassins as a master would be awesome and mighty. Thinking back to when Yang Ming said that his master was the king of assassins in front of old Charles immediately withered. But now, his master, whom he was proud of, actually changed sides at the last minute. For his old lover, he colluded to harm his apprentice. This made Yang Ming really want to cry. Yang Ming took a deep breath. Although there were thousands of dissatisfaction in his heart, he had to bow his head under the eaves. Yang Ming had no way at all. He hesitated for a while and finally said, well, then let's have a competition. If you had this awareness, I wouldn't have talked so much. Wang Ruoshui was very satisfied when she saw Yang Ming yield. So, if I win, I can go, right? After Yang Ming knew that this battle had to be fought, he couldn't care much. Even if Fang Tian's face was not good, he still had to win against Wang Ruoshui. Win? Wang Ruoshui waved her hand. I have said before that if you want to marry my niece, you must pass through me first. If you win, you can naturally get the beauty. Hey! Yang Ming's eyes widened. If I win, I still have to marry your niece? What kind of competition is this? Yang Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What if I lose? If you lose, it means that you are not skilled enough. Wang Ruoshui said, it doesn't matter. Anyway, you and my niece aren't that old. There's no hurry to get married. In other words, if I lose, I can leave. Yang Ming was overjoyed after hearing Wang Ruoshui's words. Did I say that you can leave? Wang Ruoshui asked. Then, Yang Ming's heart suddenly tightened. Could this Wang Ruoshui still have some other scheme? After you lose, stay in the butterfly castle and continue to train hard with your master, who is also that Fong guy. When you feel that you can beat me, we'll compete again. Wang Ruoshui said, there are many rooms in our butterfly castle. You will live well here. I didn't set a limit on the number of times you can challenge me. Don't worry, I will tolerate your repeated defeats as a senior. Yang Ming wanted to cry after hearing this. What was the difference between this and house arrest? And what was the point of this competition? If I win, I will marry your niece. If I lose, I will stay in the butterfly castle and continue to train until I can beat you. You can't play with me like this, right? Yang Ming sighed. He also knew that in this current situation, he couldn't change anything at all by being in a stalemate with Wang Ruoshui. Wang Ruoshui was very stubborn, and Yang Ming didn't expect to change anything. He could only slowly think about this matter before making a plan. Thinking of this, Yang Ming said, Senior Wang Ruoshui, please allow this junior to consider it. Okay, you can consider it. Wang Ruoshui was quite satisfied with Yang Ming's performance at the moment. Yang Ming returned to his room very gloomily. Old Man Fong, Wang Songshan, and Wang Ruoshui were all gone. Obviously, they had gone to catch up. Yang Ming didn't want to get involved in the grievances between them. I hope that Wang Ruoshui and Fong Tian can reconcile quickly. When Old Man Fong pushes Wang Ruoshui down and intercedes for me, maybe this competition will be cancelled. Yang Ming thought evilly. However, there was no other way. Yang Ming could only pin his hopes on Fong Tian. If this old guy didn't help him, he would have no hope at all. He would be trapped in the butterfly castle for the rest of his life. The scene turned back to Songjiang. Although Su Xiaobin was in a dilemma, he couldn't change anything. Lu Zhenan's words had already represented the final conclusion of this matter. Since the contract had been signed, it couldn't be changed. Su Xiaobin picked up the phone and dialed Jing Xiaolu's number. Su Xiaobin's voice sounded a little negative. Vice President Jing, this is Su Xiaobin. President Su, how is it going? Is there any latest progress? At this moment, Jing Xiaolu was also at a loss. Although she knew what means Lu Jifei used to sign the contract, it was useless even if she knew. It couldn't change the status quo at all. She could only pin her hopes on Su Xiaobin. She hoped that under his maneuvering and coordination, she could sign a new contract. Vice President Jing, I'm sorry. Su Xiaobin sighed. I have tried my best, but Vice President Lu Zhenan of the group does not agree to change the contract. What happened? Jing Xiaolu was startled, and her heart suddenly became anxious. If this contract is not changed, isn't it a foregone conclusion? I also stated the stakes of the matter to Vice President Lu, including our cooperation relationship and the future development of the newly established company. Su Xiaobin said, moreover, after Vice President Lu heard it, he promised to help me deal with it. However, after I returned to Songjiang, I received a call from Vice President Lu. Vice President Lu said that he had reported to the President and the Chairman. The people above did not agree to change the contract because the company has no precedent to change the contract after signing it. In this way, if this rule is broken, and other companies find the group to change the contract, then it will be a mess. How can this be compared? Jing Xiaolu said anxiously, President Su, is there no way to remedy it? Vice President Jing, I have tried my best, but... Su Xiaobin sighed. But my words carry no weight in the group. The board of directors will not listen to me. Jing Xiaolu also knew that Su Xiaobin was telling the truth. His position in the group determined his right to speak. Although Jing Xiaolu was annoyed with the Jiangyan group's approach, she also knew that this matter had nothing to do with Su Xiaobin. She naturally could not vent her anger on him. What's more, Su Xiaobin could help her deal with it. Jing Xiaolu was already very grateful for this. All of this was done by Lu Jifei. It could be said that she and Su Xiaobin were both victims. Su Xiaobin finally won this cooperation contract, and his promotion to the general manager of the branch was imminent. It could be said that his future was unlimited, but this kind of thing happened. The cooperation between the two sides was destined to be impossible to proceed smoothly. The lifespan of this branch was also obvious. President Su, what do you think is the probability of success if we go through legal procedures for this matter? Jing Xiaolu also had no other way. If it really didn't work, she could only go through legal procedures. Vice President Jing, to be honest, I also thought about this, but we have no evidence. Even if I testify in court, Lu Luyo and a series of people are on Lu Jifei's side. The possibility of us winning is very small. Su Xiaobin sighed. Yeah, the key is that there is no evidence. Jing Xiaolu also knew that evidence was the key. If there was no evidence, everything was empty words. Right, didn't your girlfriend record what Lu Jifei said? That recording, can it be used as evidence? That recording. Su Xiaobin said this and felt a little helpless. President Su, I know that you are afraid that your girlfriend's matter will be exposed, but I can guarantee that with our Mingyang Securities connections in Songjiang's political and legal system, this case will definitely not be heard in public. You don't have to worry about it. Jing Xiaolu thought that Su Xiaobin was afraid that the recording would be exposed, which would make him and Wang Lixia lose face. Chapter 1382. Vice President Jing, you misunderstood. I didn't mean that. Su Xiaobin sighed. This is a long story. I took the recording to the group's Vice President Lu. I wanted Vice President Lu to decide for me, but after Vice President Lu listened to the recording, he deleted it. I wanted to stop it, but it was too late. What? Deleted? Jing Xiaolu was stunned. How can you simply ask someone to delete such an important thing? I didn't want to. How would I know that Vice President Lu would delete the evidence on his own accord? Su Xiaobin said helplessly, I went to him to ask him to decide for me, so I gave him the phone recording. Jing Xiaolu didn't know what to say. She said somewhat resentfully, don't you know how to be on guard? Can this Lu Zhenan be trusted? Does he want to favor Lu Jifei? This. Su Xiaobin didn't feel anything at first, but after listening to Jing Xiaolu's words, his heart tightened. I didn't think so much before. This Lu Zhenan don't really favor Lu Jifei. After all, everyone's surname is Lu, and I'm an outsider. Now that I think about it, it is indeed like what Jing Xiaolu said. Could Lu Zhenan be intentional? Otherwise, why would he be so anxious to delete the evidence? This thing is a deterrent to Lu Jifei if I keep it in my hands. Moreover, I am not related to Lu Zhenan. This is the first time we meet alone. Why did he say so much to me? It seems like he is very concerned about me. Now that I think about it carefully, Lu Zhenan has no reason to care so much about me. I'm just a relative of his, a low-level employee in the company. Why would he care about me? If I ask him to surrender, then it is reasonable for him to help me, but I have never shown any intention to be close to him. Can he still help me? Thinking of this, Su Xiaobin suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Now it seems that there is really a problem. Maybe Lu Zhenan is really intentional. What can I say about you? Jing Xiaolu was also angry. Originally, Su Xiaobin's private affairs had nothing to do with her, but this kind of thing that could be used as auxiliary evidence was lost by him. How could Jing Xiaolu not be anxious? I'm really sorry, Vice President Jing. Su Xiaobin also knew that what he did was a bit stupid, but since it had already happened, there was no other way. Forget it. Jing Xiaolu couldn't blame Su Xiaobin, so she had to give up. I can't blame you for this. You didn't expect this consequence. It's my fault for being careless. I was so angry that I didn't use the cable to back up the recording on my computer. Su Xiaobin said reproachfully, it would be great if the mobile phone could restore the data like a computer. Yeah, wait. Jing Xiaolu suddenly had a flash of inspiration. President Su, is your phone that recorded the conversation still in your hands? Yes, but the recording has been deleted. Su Xiaobin still didn't understand what Jing Xiaolu meant. I have a good friend who is a master of computers. She may be able to restore the deleted recording on the phone. Jing Xiaolu thought of Zhou Jiejia. Last time, Zhou Jiejia helped her find the person who posted online to slander her. Jing Xiaolu admired Zhou Jiejia very much. She thought that restoring data was not too complicated. At least many computer repair shops had this business. Zhou Jiejia was a master hacker, so it was naturally not difficult for her. Oh. Really? That's great. Su Xiaobin also wanted to back up the recording as evidence. Lu Zhenan deleted the recording. Although he didn't say anything on the surface, he still regretted it in his heart. Even if he didn't expose the recording now, it would be a fatal blow to Lu Jifei at the critical moment. However, he didn't think much about it when he thought that Lu Zhenan had deleted it. But now, since Jing Xiaolu said that she had a friend who was good at this, his heart began to become active. Then I will send the phone to you now. Okay, come to our company directly. I will wait for you at the company, said Jing Xiaolu. After hanging up the phone, Jing Xiaolu fell into contemplation again. From Su Xiaobin's words, Jing Xiaolu already knew that it was basically impossible to expect the Jiangyan group to change the contract. At this point, Jing Xiaolu didn't have any hope. It seemed that she had to rely on herself. At present, the only feasible way was to solve the problem through legal procedures. It was still not feasible to solve it by violence. This matter was now not just directed at Lu Jifei alone, but at the Jiangyan group behind Lu Jifei. The Jiangyan group's connections were not worse than Ming Yang's, and they even had a stronger foundation than Ming Yang. She believed that it was impossible to use violence to threaten the other party to change the contract. It was estimated that the other party would call the police as soon as she went. Of course, the use of violence also depended on what kind of violence and who was using it. Bao Sanli's people obviously had no deterrence to the Jiangyan group. It was just a group of punks. She believed that the Jiangyan group would not be afraid. But if it were Yang Ming, the Jiangyan group would probably give in. In the face of absolute strength, even Lu Jiangyan would choose to retreat. After all, an assassin and a punk were different. These were two heavyweight figures. Lu Jiangyan would not easily offend such a person even if he was stupid. Jing Xiaolu made a cup of coffee for herself and sat quietly at the desk. She frowned slightly and looked at the contract in front of her. If she wanted to go through legal procedures, she still had to start with the contract. However, this contract was clearly written in black and white, and it was signed and sealed by both parties. It was simply impeccable. It was almost impossible to find a loophole in it. This contract had been drafted by Lu Luyo and Wang Hongcha, two contract experts. Only a few of the clauses had been changed. Everything else remained the same. It seemed that if she wanted to have a breakthrough, she had to start from other aspects. If the normal way was not working, she could start from some neglected details. Jing Xiaolu closed her eyes and began to recall the entire process of signing the contract, hoping to find something from it. She didn't know how long it took, but the internal phone on the desk rang. Jing Xiaolu recovered from her contemplation and picked up the phone on the desk. Hello. Vice President Jing, I am Xiao Zhang at the front desk. There is a Mr. Su Xiaobin from the Jiangyan Group's Songjiang office who wants to see you. The voice of Xiao Zhang at the front desk came from the phone receiver. Let him come directly to my office. Jing Xiaolu heard that Su Xiaobin had arrived and said quickly. Okay, Vice President Jing, I will let him go up, said Xiao Zhang. Not long after hanging up the phone, there was a knock on the door of the office. Jing Xiaolu knew that Su Xiaobin was coming, so she stood up and walked over to open the door. President Su, you are here. Vice President Jing, I brought the phone. It has been turned off. I didn't dare to do anything else. I was afraid that it would affect the data recovery. Su Xiaobin handed the phone in his hand to Jing Xiaolu. Jing Xiaolu took a look at it and carefully put it in her bag. She was going to find Zhou Jiejia in a while and ask her to help recover the recording data inside. If the recording can be recovered, our lawsuit will be easier. Jing Xiaolu looked at Su Xiaobin gratefully. President Su, I'm really sorry. I want to sue your company, and you are still helping. Su Xiaobin waved his hand and smiled bitterly. Vice President Jing, don't say that. If Lu Jifei didn't do too much, I wouldn't stand in your position. I just want to be fair and just in our cooperation. However, this evidence alone is not enough. This is only auxiliary evidence. It can prove the possibility that Lu Jifei used incense to commit the crime, but it is not certain. Jing Xiaolu said, I still need to find some other evidence. I can't do anything about this. Su Xiaobin said apologetically, however, if Vice President Jing needs any help, you can contact me at any time. I have done my best to help you. I am already very grateful to you. Jing Xiaolu said sincerely, as for the rest, I will find my own way. Chapter 1383. After sending Su Xiaobin away, Jing Xiaolu did not stay. She took the mobile phone sent by Su Xiaobin, went downstairs, drove the car, and went straight to the school. While waiting for the signal light on the road, she called Zhou Jiejia. Jiejia, this is Xiaolu. Are you at school? Asked Jing Xiaolu. Xiaolu, I am at school. What's the matter? Zhou Jiejia and Jing Xiaolu were already very familiar. Moreover, she probably guessed some of Jing Xiaolu's thoughts in her heart. Zhou Jiejia did not have any bad feelings for her. When she saw Jing Xiaolu, she thought of herself in the past, so her attitude toward Jing Xiaolu was still very kind. There is something. I want to ask you for help. I don't know if you have time, asked Jing Xiaolu. There will always be time. You tell me what it is first and see if I can help you. Zhou Jiejia smiled. This is the case. I have a mobile phone here. There is a very important recording in it, but it was deleted. Can you restore it? Asked Jing Xiaolu. This is the case. After the recording was deleted, did the phone record again? Asked Zhou Jiejia after listening. No, the phone was turned off after deleting it. There was no other operation, said Jing Xiaolu. That's easy. It's very easy. You can bring the phone to school, said Zhou Jiejia. Do you have time now? Jing Xiaolu was very surprised when she heard Zhou Jiejia say that it could be restored. Hee, it won't take much time. It will be solved in 10 minutes. Zhou Jiejia smiled and said, this is not complicated. Just use the software to restore it. It is just like restoring the data in the USB drive. It is not difficult. That's good. I am on the way to school. I will be there in a while. Jing Xiaolu hung up the phone. Although she was somewhat happy in her heart, there was also some faint sadness. The women around Yang Ming didn't seem to be vases. She really didn't know how this Yang Ming found them. Take Zhou Jiejia as an example. Her talent and achievements in computer science were not what others could reach. Originally, he also wanted to be a person who could help Yang Ming, but he didn't expect that he would fail in his first business negotiation and fall into the contract trap. It would be fine if he could solve it perfectly. Otherwise, what would Yang Ming think of him? Wouldn't he think that he was a big idiot? Jing Xiaolu's BMW was exceptionally dazzling in the school, attracting the attention of many materialistic girls. If it was in the past, Jing Xiaolu would have enjoyed this feeling of pride. But now, Jing Xiaolu's mind was not on this at all. She hurriedly parked the car in front of the computer teacher building. Jing Xiaolu got out of the car and quickly ran in. At the door of the laboratory on the top floor, Jing Xiaolu called Zhou Jiejia. This was an experimental base. Without an IC card, one could not enter, so Jing Xiaolu could only wait for Zhou Jieji to pick her up. It didn't take long for Zhou Jieji to run out with the phone. When she saw Jing Xiaolu, she waved to her. "Xiaolu, here." As Zhou Jieji spoke, she opened the iron door of the laboratory with an IC card and let Jing Xiaolu in. Jing Xiaolu could enter this first door, but there was an identity verification checkpoint in the laboratory inside. Even if Zhou Jieji could enter, she would not bring Jing Xiaolu in. After all, the laboratory had regulations that did not allow non-project team members to enter. Zhou Jieji took Jing Xiaolu to her and Xiaoqing's room and apologized. "You can't enter the laboratory. You can only stay here. It's good that I can come in." Jing Xiaolu smiled. "Ordinary people can't come in here, right?" Zhou Jieji saw that Jing Xiaolu was not displeased, so she didn't say much. "What about the cell phone? Let me show you." "Here." Jing Xiaolu quickly handed Su Xiaobin's cell phone to Zhou Jieji. "Where is the data cable?" asked Zhou Jieji. "Yeah. I forgot to ask for it. Do you still need a data cable?" Jing Xiaolu listened to Zhou Jieji's words and said, "Why don't I call now and ask someone to send the data cable? Then don't bother. I will take a look first." Zhou Jieji waved her hand and stopped Jing Xiaolu from making a call. Since Zhou Jieji said that she would take a look first, Jing Xiaolu did not call directly, but she also held her cell phone in her hand and was ready to contact Su Xiaobin at any time. Zhou Jieji turned on the cell phone and then entered the settings menu. After looking at the storage path of the recording, she nodded slightly and turned off the cell phone again. She opened the back cover of the cell phone, removed the battery, and carefully took out a memory card under the battery. She said with a relaxed expression, "The cell phone's setting is to directly store the recording file into the memory card, not into the cell phone's memory, so there is no need for a data cable. It is fine as long as there is a card reader." Jing Xiaolu was very novel about these things. She nodded as if she understood. She watched Zhou Jieji find a card reader, insert the memory card, and connect it to the laptop. Seeing Zhou Jieji skillfully open a data recovery software, Jing Xiaolu was a little envious. "It seems that I should also learn some computer knowledge. Otherwise, I am afraid that I will suffer in the future." Jing Xiaolu secretly made up her mind. After this matter was successfully solved, she would buy a few computer magazines to learn. "Okay, it's done." Zhou Jieji exported the recovered recording file, saved it on the computer desktop, and clicked the play button. Lu Jifei's clear voice came from the computer speaker. "You think about it. You have become my lover. Can I treat you badly?" "What is this?" Zhou Jieji asked after listening to a few words. Jing Xiaolu was also a little embarrassed. Listening to the two people's explicit dialogue, her face couldn't help but blush. An evidence. Oh. Zhou Jieji didn't ask much. She was still a virgin like Jing Xiaolu. She didn't have any substantial relationship with Yang Ming, so after listening to these things, her face was not much better than Jing Xiaolu's. "It's very clear. There is no problem. Then I will turn it off. You brought something like a USB flash drive. I will copy it for you." "I didn't bring." Jing Xiaolu secretly scolded herself for being an idiot. "Looking for Zhou Jieji to recover the data, but I didn't even bring a copy medium. AI, this computer knowledge really needs to be crammed. Then I will copy it into this memory card first." Zhou Jieji said and copied the audio file into the memory card. "Right, you can send another copy to my mobile phone's mailbox." Jing Xiaolu said just in case. "Okay, what is your mobile phone's mailbox?" Zhou Jieji nodded and opened the mailbox software. "Okay, I send it over." Zhou Jieji clicked the mouse a few times and said to Jing Xiaolu. "Jieji, thank you so much." Jing Xiaolu said sincerely. If she didn't know Zhou Jieji, she really wouldn't have thought of the data recovery. It's nothing. It's just a small matter. Zhou Jejia smiled. Jejia, are you free? I will treat you to a meal. Jing Xiaolu thought about it and said, you helped me a lot last time. I didn't have time to thank you. This time, you helped me again. Eat. Zhou Jejia hesitated. It's only 3:00 in the afternoon. Isn't it a bit early to eat? It's not early. Let's go out and find a restaurant. It's almost time to eat. Jing Xiaolu said quickly. Well, I will go and ask for leave from Sister Xiaoqing. Zhou Jejia could vaguely guess Jing Xiaolu's thoughts about Yang Ming, so she wasn't willing to reject Jing Xiaolu. Zhou Jejia wasn't sure whether she could be together with Yang Ming in the future, but at least she didn't hate her. Since there was this opportunity now, it was fine for the relationship between the two people to be better. I will wait for you. Jing Xiaolu nodded and walked out of the room with Zhou Jejia. Although the company's contract matter made Jing Xiaolu very upset, it wasn't a solution that could be found in a short time. She could have a meal with Zhou Jejia and relax. Maybe she could think of some solutions. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.